Chapter 552, White Fang Mo Matrix. Murderous intent flashed through Owen's eyes. He had, long ago, noticed the group of people nearby. It was clear that the group was targeting them, and it could be seen that the other had a very low opinion of them. Unrestrained laughter could occasionally be heard from the groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Owen counted inside. There were 7 groups of Mo, each of unknown origins, surrounding them. They were clearly being targeted. Right now, Owen was not the same naive youth that relied on only his talent to survive in the arena. He had fought in large-scale battles, seen rivers of blood. Both Pu Yao and Wei had great affection for him and his talent, putting great effort into teaching him. He was the strongest hardship guard in guard camp, even stronger than Xu Long. The only Shadow Mo guard, his abilities were completely different from the other hardship guards. He had unparalleled speed, so he had always acted as the scout. Even though the troop was only barely more than 100 people, Xu Long still methodically sent out scouts. Owen had quickly discovered these groups of bandits. The other's unrestrained nature caused murderousness to rise, but Owen did not act by himself. Instead, he reported the information to Xu Long. 7 groups of bandits. Xu Long made a thoughtful sound. Yes, all the groups have different head counts. The largest is about 500 to 600 people, and the smallest is 200 to 300 people. Owen reported in detail. There are about 3,000 people in total. Hearing this, Yi Ling's expression changed slightly. Nan Yu, Tsang Zhe, and the others stared at each other. They were completely shocked at this news. 3,000 people. When they looked at the 100 or so people around them, they felt a wave of coldness rise. 3,000 against 100. In other words, each one of them had to defeat 30 bandits. This was a ratio that seemed hopeless. They suddenly felt great admiration for Xu Long, as his expression was unchanged after hearing the news, and there was no trace of panic. As expected of the leader of guard camp, he had the mannerisms of a great general. Yi Ling, what do you think? Xu Long suddenly asked Yi Ling. Yi Ling's expression had changed, but he forced himself to maintain calmness. Darren, what we need to do now is increase our speed and charge out of this jia before they finish surrounding us. Xu Long did not nod. He was thinking. He quickly shook his head and refused Yi Ling's suggestion. Our speed is not fast. They are bandits and are skilled in quick raids. They have an advantage of speed, and there probably are more people waiting for us ahead. Yi Ling's face was white. Xu Long's analysis was to the point. Then what do we do? Fight. Xu Long's eyes were filled with murderousness as he said in a deep voice, we mustn't just fight, we need to fight them until their forces are crippled. Only then will we have a chance to charge out of this jia. Everyone, including Yi Ling and Nan Yu, was stunned. 100 against 3,000, how did Xu Long Darren want them to fight? Wasn't that just seeking death? 100 against 3,000, there wasn't any chance of victory. Xu Long seemed to know their thoughts and said sternly, we are a trained battalion group, they are just a bunch of bandits. No matter how many there are, they are just rabble, there is nothing to fear. Yi Ling gritted his teeth. How does Darren want to fight? We will only have one chance. If we cannot destroy them in one strike, and they scatter, we will be harassed the entire way and then be in a reactive position, Xu Long said gravely. Zhua Mo inspected the Mo matrix on the young female's body. Now that he was half recovered, he didn't need Kajua to help him examine her. His movements were very slow, and his expression was grave. When the Mo matrix's maturation was interrupted, it actually had caused irreparable damage. The Mo matrix on the female's body was unusually complex. The White Fang Mo matrix was unique to the White Fang Snake Mo. If it had complete maturation, she would enter general level and her Mo physique would naturally form. So young, and she had touched the door to the general level. This young female was astoundingly talented. The White Fang Mo matrix was extremely unique. It could absorb power continuously and compress it to become more condensed. When it was cultivated to the extreme, one could compress all the power in the body to a point smaller than the point of a needle. This needle point was so powerful it could penetrate anything. Suemo guessed that it could even penetrate a mature domain. Pu Yao and Wei examined the White Fang Mo matrix curiously. None of them had ever seen the White Fang Mo matrix before. It is slightly interesting. No wonder the White Fang Mo matrix ranks 16th among the general rank Mo physiques, Pu Yao said interestedly. He was an expert in Mo matrices and with a glance, he understood the core fundamentals. Wei looked at the young lady and then took his gaze away. He wasn't too interested in Mo matrices but he had not seen this one before. Now that he saw the real thing, he was satisfied. 16th among general-level Mo physiques. Suemo said in shock. A very strong Mo physique. However, what its greatest feature is that if one reaches general level, the Mo physique automatically forms. Pu Yao suddenly said, how about you get some of this girl's blood? Her blood is probably strange. Wei, who had been silent, suddenly opened, this idea is pretty good. I know some methods of blood sacrifice, maybe you can possess this bloodline as well. Suemo thought and then shook his head. No, I feel that my great Mo physique will soon have a breakthrough, the feeling is very strong. That's true. You cultivate the great Mo physique. The other Mo physiques cannot compare to it in terms of their foundations, Pu Yao nodded and said in agreement. Wei asked Suemo, you plan on saving her? Save her? Suemo shook his head. I do not have such great ability. This damage caused by the Mo matrix has also damaged her blood and flesh. I cannot save her. Wei became silent. Suemo did not speak more and continued to examine the Mo matrix of this young female. He didn't have any plans of saving her whatsoever. He couldn't do it, but even if he could, he didn't plan to. He was planning on making trouble for Tseng Yi once he had his breakthrough to get even over the matter of being forced against his will. He didn't have the habit of showing someone the right side of his face after they slapped the left. But this White Fang Mo matrix was really profound. Even Pu Yao didn't have many general-level Mo matrices. This was a rare chance. Suemo's fingertip moved along the Mo matrix. The unusually profound white snake Mo matrix caused him to sink into an immersed state. Without knowing it, a thread of Shen power was drawn out of his finger. When his finger traced the Mo matrix to the forehead of the young female, something happened. A great suction force suddenly formed at the forehead of the young female. Suemo's Shen power broke free of his control and furiously flooded towards the young female's forehead. Suemo was astounded. What was this? But no matter how hard he tried, the Shen power did not listen to his orders and furiously flooded into the forehead of the young female. Suemo instantly panicked. If this kept on going, wasn't he going to be drained dry? Suemo, who had just recovered half of his strength, could not accept a fate of being drained dry again. In a panic, Suemo's right hand pushed against the young female's body, trying to push her away. Boom! The Mo matrix on the young female's body suddenly lit up. The blinding light broke through the room and a faint shadow of a white snake appeared in the sky. It could be seen from far away. Jia Master Tseng, you really will not reconsider it, the youth in front of Tseng Yi asked coldly. The youth had 2 slight bumps on his forehead. This was a trait unique to those with the bloodline of dragons, and this trait would only appear in those that had reached the general level. The youth's face was white as jade, his body tall, but his expression was cold and proud. His gaze was filled with haughtiness. There were 2 Mo, one thin and one fat, standing next to the youth. The fat one had a jolly smile on his face and looked extremely welcoming. The thin one had a cold expression and his eyes were half-lidded. I do not need to consider it. Tseng Yi's expression was unreadable. He slowly said, this one is nothing special as a Jia master, but it is a free existence. This one will have to reject Marshal Ye's favor. At this time, Tseng Yi's expression suddenly changed. At the same moment, the thin one next to the youth suddenly opened his eyes, and the fatty's smile disappeared. Without any words, all of them flew out of the room at almost the same time. A building in the distance was giving off great light. Amongst the light, the white shadow of a snake flickered in and out of view. Liana. Tseng Yi's expression changed dramatically as he shouted. Before the shout ended, he disappeared. Tseng Yi as a white fanged snake mo as expected. The youth snorted and then joy came onto his face. This is a good chance. His daughter is at such a crucial moment, he won't dare refuse. Otherwise, he can't blame us for being vicious. Finishing, the trio disappeared. Zhuo Mo had never expected the other's Mo matrix to be so strange. He was extremely panicked. When he discovered the light given off by the young female's Mo matrix was so bright, he knew it was not good. How could such a big disturbance not be noticed by Tseng Yi? Damn it! This was not a good time to face Tseng Yi, but Zhuo Mo didn't have the time to regret it. He already detected Tseng Yi's presence. No, there were also 3 more generals. Zhuo Mo was shocked. For generals, even if he had a breakthrough, he definitely was not a match. Liana. Tseng Yi called out panically. His eyes were filled with worry and held none of the cruelness and indifference he usually had. Jia Master Tseng, I feel you should consider what I just said, the youth said in a strange tone from behind Tseng Yi. Tseng Yi was infuriated. You. Haha, Jia Master Tseng, this is for your own good, the fat one spoke with a smile, as long as Jia Master makes a decision, we 3 are willing to help your daughter mature the Mo matrix at the price of expending our own Mo skills. Tseng Yi wavered. Zhuo Mo knew that it was not good. If Tseng Yi really agreed, then the one with the most terrible outcome would definitely be him. But Zhuo Mo didn't have the power to speak at this time. All of the Shen power in his body was flowing towards the brow of the young female. At this time, the suction at the young female's brow suddenly disappeared. Zhuo Mo didn't even have the time to be happy before a strange Shen power erupted out of the young female's forehead, and flowed into Zhuo Mo's body along his finger. This burst of Shen power was extremely strange. When he looked inside his body, he could clearly see that the returning Shen power was silvery white. Once the silvery white Shen power entered Zhuo Mo's body, it was like a spark that ignited all the remaining Shen power in Zhuo Mo's body. Boom! It felt as though something exploded inside Zhuo Mo's head. Chapter 553, Fragments. Xu Long made multiple inspections to be certain there were no mistakes before he stopped. Nan Yu, Zhang Zhe, and the others were slightly nervous. They were having such a big battle for their first engagement, it would be lying to say they were not nervous. However, Pu Yao's high-intensity training showed its effects. They were nervous but they still managed to maintain their calm. The mission that Xu Long gave them was very simple. They were to follow up on the hardship guard's attack. On the top of the mountain, there were copper pillars inserted into the ground that were covered in rough and thick engravings. These were totem pillars. Xu Long had made according to Weiss teachings. The hardship guard that had been under Weiss tutelage had completely changed their battle style compared to when they were under Pu Yao. All of the masters that Wei had been with had all been top-level geniuses. This allowed him to have a vast knowledge regarding MO battalions. In his hands, guard camp's battle methods had quietly changed. He also added on many ancient tribal combat methods and made the camp even stronger. Using the totem pillars was one of the methods. If it wasn't that Zhuo Mo had gathered large numbers of totem fragments, they could not have made the totem pillars. Guard camp had a natural weakness, speed. In this era where speed was one of the ultimate factors, the clumsy Gurid camp was innately disadvantaged. Wei did not use any methods to increase guard camp speed, but used other methods to make them an unique heavy armor battalion. Yi Ling's heart gradually calmed because he found the entire battalion was well organized. Even though there was only 100 people, there wasn't any nervousness in their expressions. They were like precise instruments, their setup was crisp and efficient. Such a powerful battalion. Yi Ling, who had seen many battalions before, was filled with shock. The hardship guards had ease and calmness on their faces. There was no nervousness, no excitement. They seemed to move as though they were just training. Xu Long Darren did not give any motivational speech. He only sent down orders like usual as if it was just another day. This mountain peak was the tallest in the surrounding area. The peak reached into the clouds. The peak itself was a plateau about 70 or so mu. 120 totem pillars were securely embedded into the granite plateau, so only half of the pillar was exposed. The hardship guards stood between the totem pillars and a certain kind of combat formation could be made out. The bandits that had been following them did not understand what was happening, so they did not attack immediately. The news about Mountain Dragon Corps had spread through all of eminent Mountain Jie. When the large formation was set up, Xu Long's eyes silently burned with heated fighting spirit. Come! Zhuo Mo's head rang as though something inside had exploded. His mind went blank. At this time, the young female under his finger made a sound. Tseng Yi's expression became overjoyed as he unconsciously called, Lianer. The youth and the other two's expression sank. If they missed this chance, it would not be easy to persuade Tseng Yi. The three of them were at the general level, but they were still wary of Tseng Yi's white Fang Mo physique. The three exchanged a look, coldness flashing through their eyes as they moved at the same time. The youth headed straight for Zhuo Mo and the young female to try to take the young female as a hostage, while the thin and the fat men leapt at Tseng Yi. The moment the three moved, Tseng Yi understood their intentions. He shouted furiously, "Die!" The almond-yellow snake pupils turned gray-white as he charged fearlessly at the two people. His right hand was slightly raised and now shone with a gray-white light. A small howl seemed to come from hell. The fat one and the thin one changed expressions. The fat one shouted, and a brown-red Mo matrix appeared. Layers of invisible ripples spread out. The thin one's fingers were like claws and flashed with a metallic sheen. His dark green Mo matrix crept around his arms like countless branches of ivy. Hiss! Tseng Yi's raised right hand came into contact with the invisible ripples. Without any pause, it pierced through like a knife into water. One layer after another. The dozens of layers didn't manage to slow down Tseng Yi's gray-white hand at all. The fat one's expression changed drastically. Tseng Yi's strength far surpassed his expectations. At such a dangerous moment, the thin man's fingers howled like 10 sharp knives as it moved to block. There wasn't any emotion in Tseng Yi's gray-white pupils. They seemed to be lifeless as his right hand continued to push forward without any thought of dodging the thin man's attack. A vicious look appeared on the thin one's face. His Mo skill was ramped up to its limits. The dark green Mo matrix suddenly brightened, and the green light drew out a blinding streak in the air. The two sides crashed together without any finesse, a contest of strength. Boom! The blinding green light instantly illuminated the yard. The burning light was piercing to the eyes. Pa! A minuscule sound of something breaking occurred in the middle of this blinding ball of light. The light disappeared without warning. Pain appeared on the face of the thin one. 3 of the fingers on his right hand had been broken. The fat one had a terrified expression, but he reacted quickly and shouted loudly, "Stop!" "Jia Master Tseng, your honored daughter," the fat one said with his fastest speed in his life. Tseng Yi's gray-white pupils suddenly moved. The youth didn't even look at Zhuo Mo once. There was only the young female in his eyes. The great sound of the explosion behind his back and the grunt from the fat one caused his nerves to tense. He knew that his conduct was akin to breaking the peace. With Tseng Yi's temper, if he did not get even, he would not rest. Tseng Yi was not famed, but the youth would not underestimate him. If Marshal Yu was not occupied and unable to come, it definitely would not be him that had come. Out of caution, he had taken along two General Mo, but he had not thought that these two had crumbled so easily when facing Tseng Yi. In one attack, one was forced to retreat and the other was wounded. The white Fang Mo physique lived up to the rumors. He had the bloodline of dragons, but he had just stepped into general level and definitely was not Tseng Yi's opponent. The only chance right now was to capture Tseng Yi's daughter. That unconscious woman. If he could take her hostage before she woke, she would cause Tseng Yi to become wary, and he could easily get Tseng Yi to bow his head. He used all his power, his figure was lightning fast. In this moment, his mind was abnormally clear. When the face of the young female entered his eyes, when that exquisite and beautiful face entered his eyes, in this moment, he almost forgot to breathe. The long eyelashes flickered lightly, the slightly creased brow as though she was enduring some pain. On this flawless face, it caused one to unconsciously feel tenderness. A certain part of this proud youth's heart suddenly softened. The shout from the fat one behind him caused the youth to shake and wake up from his trance. This beautiful and flawless face in front of him had a demonic bewitching power. The youth suppressed the trembling of his heart. He gritted his teeth and used all his power to grab at the young female. He was now even closer. The youth was filled with joy. Success was right in front of him. If he captured the young female, he could turn defeat into victory. His right hand touched the cheek of the young female, he could even feel the softness from his fingertips. Success. Suddenly, the young female's long eyelashes fluttered and she slowly opened her eyes. The young female's eyes were like polished onyx, deep and bottomless. In that instant, the exquisite and beautiful face seemed to come alive. A beauty that was indescribable and a presence that was breathtaking. But it seemed like a poisonous snake in the dark had silently burrowed into the heart of the youth. The youth's expression instantly became dazed and his hand unconsciously stopped on the young female's snowy face. I am Liana. The young female's serene name was like a wisp that came with the wind. Act, the fat one said panically. The youth did not seem to hear him and remained motionless. Pew 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 pew. Countless shots of blood sprouted out from the youth's body. The youth fell backwards. The expressions of the thin one and the fat one froze. They looked in disbelief at the scene that they found hard to understand. They had not seen the youth make any movement, did not detect any power vibrations, they hadn't detected anything at all. They knew the youth's power. He had risen to general level at a young age, and soon, he would be able to awaken his dragon bloodline. His potential was unlimited. Even now, the youth was stronger than the two of them. He had actually died. They seemed to have seen a ghost. The scene in front of them was too strange, and out of the limits of their understanding. I am Liana. The young female said to Zhuemo. That extremely beautiful face seemed to evoke tenderness. Zhuemo did not seem to hear it. He was motionless. The young female's eyelashes lowered as she closed her eyes. In this instant, countless fragmented scene appeared in front of her mind. The bead broke. Do not forget. The crisp young female's voice was full of panic and worry. Never forget. The young female seemed to repeatedly warn. The voice was clearly in front of him, but no matter how hard Zhuemo tried, he could not see the face of the young female clearly. It seemed as though there was a layer of mist occluding his vision. Fragmented scenes flashed through his mind's eye. Every picture was fragmented, and only the young female's voice was clear. Sorrow and hopelessness corroded Zhuemo like a spreading mist. Zhuemo bit down on his lips. Having gone through many battles, he could see many things from these shattered scenes: blood, killing. The young female's voice came in and out, and was just as fragmented as the visions. don't be afraid. Young, quick, run. There were even more broken-up sounds that he could not understand. It seemed like something was blocking Zhuomo's heart. Indescribable sorrow spread inside. Suddenly, a scene caused Zhuomo to shudder. A young female was carrying a young male as she ran furiously through the woods. Branches continuously scratched and whipped past them. Their clothing was torn and was in pieces. Zhuomo could even hear the heavy breathing of the young female and the beads of sweat falling from her face. Zhuomo dazedly looked towards the bottom of the scene as though he saw something unbelievable. A pair of perfect bare feet stepping over muddy soil, sharp branches as they continued to sprint. Zhuomo stared at the running pair of feet and could not move his eyes away. Young master, don't be afraid, I will definitely come find you. At this time, Zhuomo heard a complete sentence in the young female's determined yet young tone. In this instant it was as though Zhuomo had been hit by something, and tears uncontrollably flowed. Chapter 554, Solution. Lianer. Lianer. Tseng Yi didn't even look at the thin Mo and the fat Mo looking at Lianer, his expression was excited. He stepped forward and grabbed Lianer's hand. Zhuomo's finger left Lianer's brow and her black eyes silently opened. She swept across the soundings, and when she saw a Gui, she paused slightly. When she saw a Gui's bare feet, she had an expression of realization. She had actually seen the scene inside Zhuomo's mind. She was also slightly shocked. Was it father? Her voice was soft and serene. Lianer. You're all right. You are really all right. This is great. Tseng Yi was extremely excited, and in his eyes, Zhuomo was akin to empty air. He saved me, Tseng Lianer said serenely. Oh, I will definitely reward him well. He can have whatever he wants. Tseng Yi nodded repeatedly. He could not suppress the joy on his face, but his gaze did not bear to leave his daughter. The fat one and the thin one silently sneaked away. No one paid attention. Zhuomo opened his eyes and the first thing he did was search for a Gui. When he saw a Gui standing silently at the side, a phrase floated up in his mind, "Young master, don't be afraid, he'll definitely find you." He couldn't help but reach out and rub a Gui's hair. "A Gui, you found me." He wanted to smile, but his tears flowed down uncontrollably. He thought about how a Gui had been covered in wounds when he had found her. She definitely had been searching for him. He thought about when they were trapped in the 9-turn sky soil disk, when she had faced the last attack of the clear sky old forefather, when they had been in the desert walking against the sand and wind as she had carried him, and her panting figure when she carried him through the woods in his memory. His vision blurred, and a Gui's figure also became blurred. This blurred figure and the young and blurry figure in his fragmented memories merged together. "Did you leave me the 5-element glass bead? What happened? A Gui, who wounded you so?" A Gui took a deep breath. He grabbed a Gui's hand and his expression recovered, but there was something else unusual in his gaze. The release of the seal on the 5-element glass bead meant that he had broken through into Jindan. Recalling that silver-white Shen power, he suddenly turned towards Tseng Lianer. That woman. His pupils contracted, and Tseng Yi. What just happened? Zhuomo asked Pu Yao and Wei. Wei said, it should be power resonance, a very rare occurrence. It means that the degree of compatibility between your powers is very strong, and are of different orientation. Zhuomo knew what power resonance was. This usually occurred when two kinds of powers in perfectly opposite came into contact and was an extremely rare event. The two powers would respond to each other, and this kind of intercourse would greatly aid in the increase of power. No wonder the silver Shen power the other had given back didn't cause him any trouble and helped him make a breakthrough. But he cultivated Shen power. The only power that could resonate with his Shen power was Shen power. This meant the other had to also cultivate Shen power. And it was Shen power of the completely opposite orientation. Careful, this woman is dangerous, Pu Yao warned Sui Mo. Without needing Pu Yao's reminder, Sui Mo knew the other was dangerous. Up until now, Sui Mo had only met 3 people of this era that cultivated Shen power. One was he, another was a Gui, and the last was this Tsing Lianer. He could not get the measure of this woman. But he didn't need to, Sui Mo thought. After the breakthrough, his thoughts of making trouble for Tsing Yi had temporarily faded and the other had helped in his breakthrough. What completely occupied Sui Mo's mind at the moment was a Gui. The memory fragments sealed in the 5-element glass bead had caused him great shock. He just wanted to find a place and calm down. Without another word, he grabbed a Gui and jumped away. He had heard Tsing Lianer and Tsing Yi's conversation. He didn't need to worry that Ka Zhuo would get in trouble. Tsing Yi raised his head and was slightly surprised. The power that Sui Mo showed was out of his expectations. Let them go. Tsing Lianer spoke. I'll listen to Lianer. Listen to Lianer. Tsing Yi said affectionately and took his gaze away. What do these people want to do? What do they mean by standing there? A bandit asked in puzzlement. Ha! They aren't able to run. So they are trying to fight back. Just one word from Boss One Eye, and look at this. Not just 100 people, even if they are 1,000, they will be defeated. You are right, we are using a sword to kill a chicken. I heard the people from Mountain Dragon Corps retelling about their strength and thought there would be a lot of people. 100, it isn't even enough to pick our teeth with. Stop wasting words, just 100 people, how do we divide them up? We have to be first. There is only one space as a reward. You are right. A bunch of bandits charged at the mountain. Their actions caused a chain response. Seeing this, the other bandits unhesitatingly charged. 100 people in a formation on the mountain couldn't compare to the 3,000 bandits. The bandits that charged were like a tsunami, covering the ground and the sky. The suppressed fighting spirit in Shu Long's eyes lost all of its restraints and started to burn. Open. Black smoke suddenly sprouted out of the 108 totem pillars. The black smoke grew with the wind and in a flash, it covered the entire mountain peak like an enormous black cloud. The rushing bandits charged into the black cloud. Boom boom boom. The roiling black smoke was expelled from the totem pillars. They seemed to change constantly as though they were alive. Suddenly, the black smoke around one totem pillar condensed and formed the shape of a person. A figure made from black smoke appeared above the totem pillar. Mo grinding disc. If a Mo Golden Battle General saw this combat formation, he would exclaim in shock. Mo grinding disc was one of the strongest battle formations used to wear down the enemy. It was like a terrifying grinding disc. A battalion that was trapped in it was like a piece of meat thrown into the grinder and would be ground into meat paste. There had been innumerable Xiuzha that had died in the Mo grinding disc in the past. But after that 1,000-year war, the Mo grinding disc had been lost and the technique never appeared after. Yet at this time, one of the strongest battle formations, Mo grinding disc, appeared on this little mountain, and there was only 100 people. Kill! Inside the thick black smoke, Shu Long's shout echoed in the air like thunder. The battle formation shifted loudly and spun like a grindstone. Sui Mo looked silently at a Gui. A Gui sat beside him with a wooden expression. When he saw a Gui's wooden expression, Sui Mo's heart hurt. The Shen power inside a Gui's body was too strange, and Sui Mo couldn't find traces any of a Gui's thoughts and memories. Her mind was completely empty. Sui Mo remembered that a Gui had seemed most alive when she had been wounded and had no Shen power. Shen power. That intimidating coldness and voice caused Sui Mo's heart to hurt. Pu Wei, what solutions do you have? Sui Mo asked. Pu Yao and Wei were both silent. Sui Mo knew that this was a hard problem for them. Pu Yao and Wei knew a lot about Yao and Mo cultivation, but they didn't know much more than he did about Shen power. It would be good if a Gui could speak, Sui Mo murmured to himself. If a Gui could speak, then she could tell him everything. Sui Mo knew this was a delusion. He forced himself to calm down and think back to every detail in those fragments. He instantly had many discoveries. A Gui called him young master. This appellation implied many things. He probably did not have an ordinary birth. A Gui had carried him and fled for their lives. There had also been those fragments filled with blood and slaughter. His family had probably encountered trouble. Who did it? Why? Where had a Gui Shen power come from? Who had erased his memories and changed his features? Countless riddles came at him and almost pressed Sui Mo to the point of suffocation. Calm. He had to be calm. Sui Mo bit down hard on his lips and tried to maintain his calm. But his bulging tendons exposed the storm inside. A Gui Shen power was the greatest obstacle. This Shen power was extremely weird and Sui Mo could not extract it. At this time, Pu Yao suddenly said, "Do you remember the reverse shadow spirit silkgrass that I once mentioned to you?" Sui Mo stilled and thought for a while with creased brows before he nodded. "I remember, you said the reverse shadow spirit silkgrass can help me recover the fragments of my memory." "Yes. A Gui's memories have been damaged, her soul is wounded, and I suspect that the wounds in her soul are related to the Shen power that she cultivates. But if you want to know all this, you do not only have a Gui's memories to repair," Pu Yao said. Sui Mo reacted quickly and his eyes lit up. "Yes. There is no need to start with a Gui, we can start with me." The more he thought, the more excited Sui Mo was. "Yes, yes. I should have also experienced those same vents, and there would be shadows left in my mind. If I can recover my memories, I can know all this. I will know what Shen power a Gui cultivates, I can think of a way to heal a Gui." He had closed himself in trying to find a way through a Gui. He had completely forgotten that he should also know. Thinking back to the time that the sect leader had picked him up at Wukong Mountain, it was about the same time that was indicated in the memory fragments were sealed in the 5-element glass bead. Can the reverse shadow spirit silkgrass really recover my memories? Sui Mo asked urgently. Wei spoke and proved that Pu Yao was not boasting. This is a grass that grows in the Mo realm. As long as there is one piece of the memory, it can completely reflect and trace back your entire memory. You have so many memory fragments now. If we can find reverse shadow spirit silkgrass, you should be able to get all of your previous memories. Where is reverse shadow spirit silkgrass? Pu Yao and Wei exchanged a look. Both hesitated. Where is it? Sui Mo exploded. Wei slowly opened. Supposedly, there is reverse shadow spirit silkgrass in Nether Spring Jia of the Ming realm. Reverse shadow spirit silkgrass. Nether Spring Jia. Sui Mo murmured, his gaze determined. Editor bragged, totally want to point out I got half of ZM's past right back in chapter 255. Woot woot. Chapter 555, An Unusual Breakthrough, What did you say? Shouted the one-eyed wolf Mo as he suddenly jumped out of his seat wearing an expression of shock. Boss! They all died. All of them. No one survived. His subordinate's face was ashen and bloodless. He had been flailing and stumbling when he charged in and still appeared weak in the knees. All dead. Be clearer. How did they all die? The one-eyed wolf Mo quickly recovered his calm and asked calmly. The people from all 7 groups died. More than 3,000 people. Not one, left alive, the subordinate stammered. His eyes were thick with terror as though there was something chasing him. He was filled with hopelessness. He said tremblingly, they, on Black Dragon Peak, they killed everyone. Impossible. The one-eyed Mo wolf was filled with disbelief as he shook his head. More than 3,000 people, how many people do they have? 100. 100 killing 3,000, do you think they are killing chickens? Boss. It's the truth. The subordinate was almost crying, you can go to Black Dragon Peak and see. It's corpses everywhere, from the peak to the base of the mountain, all corpses. The one-eyed Emo wolf suddenly froze. Hearing the subordinate speak like this, he finally believed it. Black Dragon Peak was not far from their base, his subordinate wouldn't easily make a mistake like this, and definitely would not lie to him about a matter like this. How was it possible? That was 3,000 people. How could 100 people kill 3,000 people, and not one survive? The one-eyed wolf Mo's extremities felt cold, his throat dry. Did you find any of their corpses? And no. Coldness rose up in the one-eyed wolf Emo. How many years had it been, he had become so unfamiliar with the feeling of terror. Yet it was this unfamiliar terror that came like the tide and almost swallowed him. They had kicked a metal board. And it was a metal board that was the hardest there could be. 100 people were enough to massacre 3,000 people, those were the elites of an extraordinary battalion. In the one-eyed wolf Mo's career of raiding, he had never seen nor heard of such a powerful battalion. If it hadn't happened to him, he would definitely not believe it. Right now, he only felt terror. Such a terrifying battalion was something only those enormous factions could possess. Was this the personal battalion of a Emo marshal? The one-eyed wolf Emo tried to maintain his calm but his legs uncontrollably trembled. Any Emo marshal in the entire 100 Savage was the warlord of an area, marshal was a title that meant power. There were no Emo marshals that lived alone except the ones that existed in legend. He might be able to dominate eminent mountain Jia, but in the eyes of those Emo marshals, he was a small character who could be killed at any time like an ant. Which Emo marshal didn't have many powerful generals, and Jia masters under them? The one-eyed wolf Emo looked vicious and arrogant but he was very smart. He never provoked any factions. He could not afford to. The power represented by a Emo marshal, it was an existence he could not afford to provoke. Damn it! How had he done something so stupid? The one-eyed wolf Emo was full of regret. The only good news was that the other didn't seem to have sustained any serious injuries or fatalities. He was familiar with the mentality of those personages. For those personages, their time was unusually the most precious. As long as there wasn't great trouble, they were not willing to waste time on ants. Where are they? The one-eyed wolf Emo asked in a trembling voice. Go gone, the subordinate stammered out, no one dared to block them. The one-eyed wolf Emo released a breath. They are gone, good. Good. It was good if these kind of death gods were gone. Shu Long and the others who only desired to keep traveling did not pay attention to the other bandits. The other bandits were frightened out of their wits. Which one of them dared to continue and harass the caravan? The news that a battalion of 100 people killed 3,000 bandits quickly spread. Many people expressed their disbelief when they heard the news. This news only exploded when the mirage of the hellish state of Black Dragon Peak was spread. Everyone speculated to which faction this terrifying battalion belonged to. 100 killing 3,000, this amazing result caused the reputation of this mysterious battalion to rise. Because they did not know the name of this battalion, many Emo called this the Butcher Battalion. Shu Long and the others only tried to travel faster. They didn't know that the Battle of Black Dragon Peak had attracted the attention of many factions. However, even if they knew, they would not have cared. Because they received Zhuo Mo's order, to reach Shattered Stone Jia at the fastest speed. Zhuo Mo furiously absorbed Shen power from his hand. The threads of Shen power continuously merged into his flesh and blood. After the breakthrough, Zhuo Mo seemed to have broken all the chains holding him back and his cultivation increased at amazing speeds. It was strange to speak of, Zhuo Mo's Ling power had finished core formation, his consciousness had formed the Yin spirit, but it was his Mo physique that was lacking. Mo could not understand this. Of the three powers, the Mo physique was the one he was most familiar and most skilled with. Rationally, the first breakthrough should have been his Mo physique. But Mo was not in a hurry. At this time, he was in a stage where his power was steadily increasing. Every time he drew Shin power from his palm, he could feel a clear improvement. Mo did not have the time to cultivate any of the three powers and process Shin power. The palm of his right hand was akin to a bomb that could explode at any moment. The vast Shin power in it was truly enchanting. Mo didn't waste one iota of time and threw himself into furious cultivation. In this time, he had investigated Nether Spring Jie. Just like the Shouja world was called Four Realms, the Mo world had another name, the Dark of 100 Savage. It was divided into two realms, one was 100 Savage Realm, the other was the Dark Realm. Nether Spring Jie was located at the deepest regions of the Dark Realm. No one knew much about the Dark Realm. They only knew that that was the darkest and most chaotic place of all of Dark of 100 Savage. It wasn't easy to even reach that place. One had to pass through the territories of many great factions. The journey would be filled with danger and bandits. In the Dark Realm, there were vicious and savage Mo that even those large factions were wary of. This branch of Mo was infamous. They were born as berserkers. They were cruel, bloodthirsty, and without any emotion. Mo knew if he wanted to eliminate a Gui Shin power, if he wanted to know everything, if he wanted to find the reverse shadow spirit Silkgrass, he had to become even more powerful. By himself, his power was not enough, he needed helpers. He decided to wait for Shu Long's group at Shattered Stone Jie. He used all his time to cultivate day and night. He had never been as motivated as he was now. A Gui was sitting silently beside him. Just like normal, Mo started to cultivate, but he quickly detected an unusual shift inside his body. The sun crystal seed was spinning rapidly, the flames shifting in layers. The greenvine mystical water released faint light that was warm yet cool. What surprised Mo was that even the soul-setting divine light had become restless like a rainbow fish that swam nimbly without stopping inside his body. All the signs signaled that something unusual was happening. Was he having a breakthrough? Mo knew, if this was the time, it would require him to be even calmer and maintain a clear mind. He slowly channeled Shin power. The Shin power merged into his flesh and blood, turning to the three powers, and then turning back to Shin power. It repeated this in an endless cycle. The Mo matrix on his body slowly lit up. The faint gold Mo matrix was complex. The Mo matrix brightened and dimmed as though it was breathing, but each time it flashed, the intensity of the brightness would increase. When the golden Missouri matrix reached a peak brightness, the blinding golden light was piercing. At this time, the sun crystal seed suddenly released a flood of scorching flame. It was like burning lava that covered the Shin power eating at his body. The greenvine mystical water's presence also increased, and the moisture sank into Mo's blood and flesh. The blood and flesh that had just been burnt by the sun crystal seed was instantly restored like nothing had happened. The Mo matrix on Mo's body instantly had new changes. The golden Missouri matrix seemed to come alive and move along Mo's body, transforming. Gradually, the Mo matrix that was extremely packed started to divide into many areas. The Mo matrix gathered in these areas, and as its movement grew slower, 10 clear marks formed. Suddenly, the sun crystal seed inside Mo's body brightened and released golden light from his chest. An astounding scene happened. The 10 marks, that were formed by the Mo matrix shrinking, had started to move along Mo's body as though there was an invisible line pulling them. The largest golden Missouri matrix moved to the center of Mo's chest as though it was attracted by a magnet. The light of the sun crystal seed merged with this largest Mo matrix. The Mo matrix seemed to turn into golden liquid and flowed along Mo's chest as though a pen was slowly drawing out lines. At the same time, the other 9 Mo matrices lit up. The blinding MO matrices connected, and changed. They each became rounder, and the 10 pieces of the MO matrix became 10 perfect circles like 10 small suns. 10 suns were situated at different parts of Zhuomo's body. The 10 suns suddenly gave off great light, the dark night so bright it seemed like day, and the stars in the sky losing their light. At this time, the swimming soul-setting divine light ferociously burrowed into the sun MO matrix at Zhuomo's chest. Then, like a needle, it rapidly passed through the other suns. Ruler straight lines spread through the 10 suns and connected each sun to the other 9. In a blink, there were crisscrossing golden lines on Zhuomo's body that connected all 10 suns. Only now did the MO matrix's light seem to be used up. Zhuomo opened his eyes. His eyes had turned a faint gold, and it was possible to discern crisscrossing golden lines inside his eyes. There was a golden sun MO matrix on his forehead that appeared extremely domineering. This is. Zhuomo looked dazedly at the sun MO matrix on his palms. This sun MO matrix was similar to the day script that appeared when he used day script palm, but it was even more complex and beautiful. 10 suns, the largest was on his chest, the smallest between his bows. There was 1 each on his hands and feet, 1 on his stomach and 3 on his back. Zhuomo knew that he definitely had a breakthrough. But, such a strange feeling. Zhuomo had a strong feeling that his breakthrough was unusual. What had happened? Chapter 556, 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. Pu Yao and Wei looked at Zhuomo like they were looking at a freak. What is with your gaze? Zhuomo was unable to maintain his calm. You leveled up. Pu Yao's voice was as cold and indifferent as usual, but Zhuomo, who had become familiar with him a long time ago, could hear the thread of unusualness in his voice. I know I leveled up, Zhuomo muttered. He then asked in anticipation. What MO physique do I have now? Is it powerful? Pu Yao's gaze was very strange. Very powerful, the one who spoke was Wei. Wei's expression was also very strange. Your present MO physique is called 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus, a very rare MO physique, one even rarer than the White Fang MO physique. This powerful. Zhuomo was overjoyed. Then he bent down his neck and said uncertainly, Are you sure? Wait, isn't the White Fang MO physique a general level MO physique? You have not remembered it wrong. Pu Yao's gaze became even stranger. Zhuomo stilled. After a while, he said slowly, General level. I leveled up to general level. Pu Yao and Wei did not speak and only looked at Zhuomo strangely as though they could observe something from Zhuomo's body. Zhuomo was stunned by the news. General level. He had moved into the general level. This was, too fantastical. His great day MO physique had been a colonel level MO physique. Zhuomo had thought it had encountered some problem when it hadn't had a breakthrough after all this time. He hadn't expected to actually go past the brigadier level and go straight into general level. The difference between general level and brigadier level was the difference between Yuanying and Jindan. There were innate differences. This was not rational, this was not rational. Zhuomo thought dazedly. It should be caused by the sun crystal seed. And greenvine mystical water and soul-setting divine light. What does 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus rank among the general level MO physiques? I don't quite remember it. Third. Hearing the discussion between Pu Yao and Wei, especially when he heard that 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus was ranked third, he shook and woke up. Zhuomo grumbled, Why isn't it second? Pu Yao and Wei turned, looking at him as though they were looking at an idiot. Great Day MO physique was second in colonel level. Zhuomo said righteously. From second to third, this is a step back. Idiot. Pu Yao spat out a word. A person like this actually could cultivate the 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. Wei's gaze was also as though he was looking at an idiot. I just said so, it was definitely because of the sun crystal seed. With a treasure like this, even an idiot can possess 10 crow celestial apparatus. You are right. Pu Yao and Wei's disdain-filled discussion passed into his ears. Suemo really could not resist. Hey, speak clearer. After Pu Yao and Wei's detailed explanation, Suemo had a general understanding. The leveling up of Mo physiques would not have too much of a correlation with the initial rank. For example, while Great Day Mo physique was second among kernel level, but there was more than one path it could level up through. The difference between each of the leveled up Mo physiques was large, and 10 crow celestial apparatus was the best level up path for Great Day Mo physique. According to Pu Yao and Wei, they felt that the reason he had reached 10 crow celestial apparatus was directly connected to the sun crystal seed inside of him, and also the sun Shen power he cultivated. Even the green vine mystical water and the soul-setting divine light were hugely influential. Otherwise, with Suemo's present power, the best outcome of leveling up would be the light manifestation Mo physique that ranked 7th in the brigadier level. After listening carefully, Suemo understood. However, he did not care if the cause was the sun crystal seed. What he cared about was ranking 3rd in general level. Having seen the power of the White Fang Mo physique that ranked 16th in general level, 10 crow celestial apparatus that ranked 3rd should be even stronger. 10 crow celestial apparatus. Suemo recited inside. His gaze looked unconsciously towards Ague. Ague, I now have the 10 crow celestial apparatus, I will become even stronger. Gripping Agui's hand, Suemo went back to his cultivation. He didn't want to waste one bit of time. Ranking 3rd in general level, 10 crow celestial apparatus, if he could drag out all the power of such a powerful Mo physique, the chances of surviving a trip to the Nether Spring Jia should grow much higher. Suemo pondered this. Watching the furiously cultivating Suemo, Pu Yao and Wei were silent. He's working very hard, Wei suddenly said. Pu Yao looked at Suemo and seemed to be thinking. His bloody pupil was deep and his emotions were complex. A moment later, he suddenly spoke, I've decided to help him. In which way? Wei raised his head. Using everything I can do. Pu Yao raised his head. You were right last time, we have to settle our accounts. Gong Sun Cha laid on the bed and his thoughts wandered as he stared at the ceiling. Suemo Shixiang had passed information on everything that happened recently back to Turtle Island. There was nothing concealed. Each of them had read all of it. No one had ever thought that Shixiang's history was so wondrous and so tragic. Even though they didn't have a complete picture but just the information they had now was enough for them, people who had been through many battles, to smell the thick tang of blood. Shixiang's present mood was probably. No, he couldn't let Shixiang fight alone, he had to do something. Gong Sun Cha suddenly sat up straight. A moment later, a smile suddenly rose in the clear eyes of the neighbor's boy. In the depths, fighting spirit rose like flowers on the wind. They had always fought side by side. The dark of 100 savage, it really was a challenge. His spirit burned and his blood was nearly boiling, but Lil Miss' mind was unusually calm. He started to ponder how to actualize his intent. He definitely could come up with the most suitable strategic plan. Darren. The guard outside knocked on the door. What is it? Interrupted, Lil Miss frowned. The guard came in and handed Lil Miss a jade scroll. He reported, just now, Wei Xing Darren came and delivered a jade scroll. He said to give it to Darren. Eldest Shixiang. Lil Miss stilled. He picked up the jade scroll. A moment later, he wore a grimace. Eldest Shixiang had gone by himself to search for Suemo Shixiang. To Gongsun Shitty, brotherhood and friendship, one needs to remain true. I am unable to stand by and watch, heart of a sort, can safely strike and be safe, know that this one's strength is not enough, so I bid farewell. I go to the Mo world, using fighting to cultivate, kill Mo to temper the sword, if I am not dead, and reach the nether spring. I will lend the strength of one sword. In the jade scroll, Wei Xing's voice was indifferent and filled with decisiveness. Crazy. Lil Miss murmured. Raising his head, his bangs swayed despite the lack of wind. A bashful smile hung on Lil Miss' face. Ha, let's be crazy together. Turtle Island's atmosphere suddenly became tense. The intensity of vermilion bird camps and guard camps training was increased to unprecedented level. The tense atmosphere allowed everyone to understand, something had happened. It quickly spread in the two camps that Mo Darren had encountered trouble. Vermilion Bird Camp and Guard Camp had followed Mo from Little Mountain Jia and their bond was deep. Hearing that Darren had encountered trouble, and there were no orders to move out, only orders telling them to train, the group understood that their current strength was not enough to resolve the trouble for Darren. Without needing any urging, the two camps started to cultivate more furiously. The large families in Cloud Sea Jia quickly received orders. A new camp, Green Dragon Camp, was going to be set up and was requesting each family to send outstanding disciples to the recruitment. The families with disciples selected would receive more benefits. This order caused a great wave in Cloud Sea Jia. As the Great Thousand Island formation expanded day by day, every family knew that Turtle Island's rule of Cloud Sea Jia was unbreakable. Only by responding to Turtle Island's orders would they receive more benefits in the future. Countless accomplished youths flooded towards Turtle Island. When Sherdong received the order, he was slightly puzzled. His progression speed far surpassed his own expectations. However, he had not expected that Lil Miss Darren was still unsatisfied and ordered him to speed up his advance. Other than this, he was also shocked that Lil Miss Darren allowed him the right to expand Grey Camp. Someone major probably happened. Sherdong's temper was not the best but he was a smart person. The first he thought of was Mo Darren. Mo Darren, that Darren that Yi Ling said could become king. He thought for a moment before sending down the order to expand the troops. He then ordered an increase in training intensity. Did something happen? Darren, his subordinate asked suspiciously. Mo Darren might have encountered some trouble, Sherdong explained. Ah. Our King Darren encountered trouble, the subordinate paled and asked urgently, is it great trouble? Is there danger? Do we need to go reinforce him? Sherdong was surprised by the subordinate's fierce response, you are very rushed. The subordinate stilled and said unhesitatingly, of course, that is our king. You feel that he can become king? Sherdong asked something that had puzzled him for a long time. Definitely, the subordinate balled his fist and had a serious expression. We all believe he can. So it's like this. Sherdong was thoughtful. The subordinate charged outside without even bowing to Sherdong. He had to pass along this news as fast as he could. All hail the king. These are the MO matrices that Darren has sent, as well as some of his own conclusions regarding the topic. Master Sun Bao looked at the people below and said gravely, during this period of time, everyone will need to put aside all other work, and work on the MO matrices. Everyone nodded but were slightly astounded. It had to be said that while the missions of Golden Crow Camp were difficult and demanding, the atmosphere was free. The two masters generally allowed everyone to explore their own projects and would only gather everyone's power during some special missions. Had something happened? Everyone was puzzled. Master Ji Weiss' expression was also very grave. He was handing out jade scrolls. Master, did something happen? Someone asked. Everyone's gaze gathered on Master Sun Bao. Darren encountered some danger, Master Sun Bao said in a deep voice, and needs our help. It was deathly silent. A second later, it exploded. Darren encountered danger. Damn it. Did the other groups go play and not fulfill their responsibilities? Where is Lil Miss Darren? Heavens. This isn't true. These young production shoujo were furiously and wanted to charge out. That was Darren. Darren, who all of Golden Crow Camp had sworn an oath to forever follow. No one would forget who had passed on spells and techniques, who had given them Golden Crow fire, why they did not have to worry for the clothing on their back, and could even do whatever they wanted. They remembered who gave them all this. Damn it! Shut up! Master Ji Weiss' shout caused everyone to stop talking. Master Sun Bao didn't have any trace of a smile. There seemed to be fire flickering in his gaze. Everyone, make use of the time and study the Jade Scrolls. Inside are the conclusion and studies Darren has relating to the MO matrices. We need to understand all the problems in the shortest amount of time. There seemed to be a fire burning in everyone's eyes. And then, we will start engraving MO matrices. This is a war. Chapter 557, Screw Live and Die Together. Mo did not know about what was happening on Turtle Island. He forgot himself in his cultivation. In the past, Mo had not chased after power. He did not have great ambitions, it was enough to have enough power to live well. But right now, he had an almost absurd desire for power. It was clear that both the matter of healing a Gui or investigating his birth, success would be based on one foundation: strength, great strength. Every day, he was immersed in cultivation as though he did not know exhaustion. He was waiting for Shu Long and the others to arrive. If his investigation was right, Nether Spring Jia wasn't a place that he could go to alone. 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. The physique ranked third in the general level, and as expected, it had its unique traits. Wei was familiar with all kinds of Mo physiques, and this allowed Mo's cultivation to be extremely focused. In a few short days, Mo's strength had shot forward and he finally had a comprehensive understanding of the 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. The name 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus alluded to the 10 suns on different areas of his body. They looked more like carefully carved tattoos, and not Mo matrices. The most eye-catching was the sun matrix at the center of Mo's forehead. The perfect circle was made of complex and beautiful patterns. There was a jagged zigzagging pattern on the circumference of each deep dark gold sun, representing rays of light. Mo's face was not handsome, but when the sun script symbol appeared there, it added a hint of mysteriousness and nobility. 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus, each sun represented a source of power. He needed to accumulate power and activate each sun. Each sun contained a transformation. 10 suns meant 10 transformations. According to Wei, Mo that cultivated 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus were rare, and rarer were those that comprehended all 10 transformations. 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus, each transformation was extremely powerful and domineering. What was even more frightening was that the power of 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus would be used with finesse and technique, and was not just the application of brute force. But what was most famous about the 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus was not the 10 transformations, but that it had the title of Best Domain in general level, 10 Crow Celestial Domain. Hearing this, Mo hungered for it. It was a pity that Wei didn't know how to comprehend 10 Crow Celestial Domain. Domain was a type of power that was accessible to only those Yuanying Xiuzhe, General Mo, and Rahula Yao. Ding Zhen's Lantern Fire Buddhist Domain was an example, and Wei Sheng had been able to grasp the beginnings of domain while he was in Jindan. Wei Sheng's talents were astounding. Having seen Ding Zhen's Lantern Fire Buddhist Domain, Mo yearned for domain. However, Wei did not speak more about how to comprehend domain. That was something far beyond where Mo was. Even though Mo had obtained 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus due to having a precious treasure in his body, he still lacked comprehension. With his body now in a balanced state, having had a breakthrough in his Mo physique, Ling power, and consciousness. It was the two powers to first have breakthroughs that were now holding him back. Mo worked on processing the Shen power in his right hand, and then turned it into Ling power and spiritual consciousness. He used this method to also strengthen his 10 Crow Celestial Apparatus. Zhuemo had originally assumed that this stabilization would take a long time. Unexpectedly, he only needed 10 days to raise his Ling power to Yuanying levels, and his consciousness to Yao Mansion. One factor was the abundance of Shen power. The increase in the power whirlpool in Zhuemo's right hand was still accelerating, and the amount of Shen power he drew every day increased. While overjoyed, Zhuemo was also slightly worried. Based on this speed, the Shen power being produced every day would soon surpass the amount he could process. The other factor was that while his 10-crow celestial apparatus was not very stable, it was at the general level, and higher than both Jindan and Yin spirit. But Zhuemo had forcefully crossed the boundary between levels by relying on treasures, and his understanding of the power was completely different than others at the level. All paths of power led to the same destination. Even though the Mo physique was different compared to Ling power and spirit consciousness, there were many places Mo could study and copy. Pu Yao and Wei were not shocked by Mo entering Yuanying. In their eyes, this was natural. However, Pu Yao was slightly excited now that Zhuemo's consciousness formed the Yao Mansion. Yao that formed their Yao Mansion were called Rahula Yao and could be counted in the ranks of experts in the Yao world. Zhuemo's talent in Yao arts was actually very good, but compared to the even more amazing Mo physique, it was slightly lacking. Leaving Pu Yao to feel that although Zhuemo was his student, Wei had taken the glory. Now that Zhuemo had formed his Yao Mansion, it meant that he could pass more Yao arts to Zhuemo. Also, archaic wasteland sacrificial art was more suited to Rahula Yao. However, Pu Yao did not say this. He was busy doing some other things. Some strange messages appeared in the corners of 10-finger prison. The messages were worded strangely and the sentences incomprehensible. They were also posted in remote places that were not attention-catching. But if those with intention searched, they would find to their shock that there were similar messages at every level of 10-finger prison. Will this work? Wei asked Pu Yao. Don't know. Pu Yao's bloody pupil was deep. It has been too long. I don't know if they still remember, let's just try. I don't know how many of Master's supporters still remain, Wei said calmly. I have sent out the blood summons. Pu Yao's eyes flashed with a reckless light, a cold smirk at the corner of his mouth. No matter how powerful time is, it will leave some remnants behind. You plan on having Zhua inherit all of this? Wei looked at Pu Yao. Pu Yao shook his head. He may not be willing to inherit. Our thoughts are the same. Wei nodded. However, he needs power. Pu Yao's robes moved despite the lack of wind, his voice became deep. He doesn't understand himself, and we cannot truly understand him. His enemies most likely are far more powerful than even he imagines, he only has one path. Wei suddenly gave a small smile. Very similar to how we were. Pu Yao's memories were stirred by this, a reminiscing expression in his bloody pupil. He quickly calmed down. Also, it will not be unprofitable for them to follow him. Families that stood guard for thousands of years and did not give up should return to glory. Wei sighed. I do not know how many still remain. Pu Yao also became silent. He also did not know. Zhuemo suddenly stopped his cultivation. He detected someone was approaching. His body turned towards the people approaching and stood between them and Ague, shielding Ague behind him. Two figures appeared like ghosts nearby. It's you. Zhuemo's gaze focused and he was shocked inside. In the night, Tseng Lianer's exquisite and beautiful features looked more mysterious. Her black opal-like eyes held an indescribable light. There was also a woman standing next to her. Looking at her attire, it should be Tseng Lianer's maid. She stopped at a distance of 5 zhang from Zhuemo. You are going to Nether Spring Jia, the serene voice drifted over with the wind. Zhuemo, who had not lowered his guard, suddenly focused his gaze. He asked in a deep voice, how do you know? This is Shattered Stone Jia. Tseng Lianer did not pay attention to Zhuemo's wariness. Sui Mo understood. Most likely, his search for reverse shadow spirit silkgrass had caught Tseng Yi's attention. This outrageously beautiful woman in front of him gave him a great sense of danger. Even though a part of his breakthrough was owed to this person, and the other's silver Shen power had been one of the main causes of his breakthrough. But he could not get the measure of this woman's power or intentions. I cultivate moon Shen power. Tseng Lianer's seductive face became slightly dazed. She raised her face, and the moon above her head brightened slightly. A ray of moonlight fell on her face, illuminating her delicate features. The long eyelashes, the warm lips, the flawless face, under the illumination of the moon, it seemed to shake the soul. Moon Shen power. Sui Mo finally understood why the other's Shen power would have power resonance with his Shen power. I will go with you to Nether Spring Jie, Tseng Lianer said serenely. You'll go with me to Nether Spring Jie? Sui Mo heard this and stopped for a long time before he reacted. He felt it was humorous. Huh, what are you saying? You are going with me to Nether Spring Jie? Haha. Yes, Tseng Lianer looked at Sui Mo with her calm eyes. Sui Mo heard the determination in the other's voice and his humor receded. He frowned. This joke isn't funny, I'm not familiar with you. Tseng Lianer's voice was extremely pleasing to hear. Because you cultivate Sun Shen power, and I cultivate Moon Shen power. Don't understand. Sui Mo shook his head. If we cultivate together, our Shen power will grow even more quickly, Tseng Lianer explained. Sui Mo finally understood. You mean power resonance? It is also called paired cultivation, Tseng Lianer said lightly, it is very beneficial to you. Sui Mo was not persuaded. I do not need it. Because of your right hand? A hint of mirth rose in Tseng Lianer's pupils. However, Sui Mo did not find it funny. His heart shook. The other's familiarity with his secret surpassed his expectations, to even know about the whirlpool of Shen power in his hand. This woman. I do not have any malicious intentions. The whirlpool in your right hand is growing, and you can only absorb a small amount. When it reaches a certain level, you will lose control of it. She stared at Sui Mo and said, paired cultivation can solve this problem. Sui Mo spread his hands. Why should I believe you? Because when your Shen power awakened me, it left an imprint on my body. If you die, I cannot live, Tseng Lianer said as though it was nothing. If I die, your Shen power will also crumble. Ha! You are a good liar. Sui Mo laughed coldly. The paired cultivation, when it began it decided our fate. If I channel Shen power, you will be able to feel it. As she spoke, the moonlight around Tseng Lianer brightened. Sui Mo's expression changed drastically. His Shen power was moving against his will. This is the power resonance you speak of. If you channel Shen power, my Shen power would also resonate. Tseng Lianer's words burrowed into Sui Mo's ear. Damn it! I think that it is much safer to follow you, so that I do not die mysteriously one day without knowing the cause. Tseng Lianer didn't look at Sui Mo as she slowly walked to his side. She sat down, and her maid knelt down next to her. In a blink, a little wooden table appeared, an exquisite tea set, a small stove, and she started to boil tea. Sea of consciousness. Sui Mo urgently asked Pu Yao and Wei, this woman is truthful. The one that explained was Wei. It is true, the paired cultivators in the ancient era usually lived and died together. Screw live and die together. Sui Mo swore with a terrible expression. Actually, this isn't a bad thing. Before Wei finished, Sui Mo angrily turned and left the sea of consciousness. Moon Shen power. Pu Yao was thoughtful. Chapter 558, Light. Sui Mo was furious about the situation but Tseng Lianer didn't even bat an eyelid. She slowly lifted her teacup and elegantly drank. Under her long eyelashes, her bright black eyes were shrouded in the steam. A Gui sat disaffected by Zhuo Mo's body. She was like a puppet, wooden and lifeless. In front of a Gui, Zhuo Mo looked warily at Xing Lianer, his brow locked in a frown. He didn't know what to do with this woman that suddenly popped out. Having recovered his calm, Zhuo Mo started to ponder this matter. But no matter which angle he thought about this from, this matter was not anything good for him. He wasn't interested in something like paired cultivation at all. Yet he had entered what was going to be a long period of attempting high-level power increases. He also found it hard to accept that he had to now live and die together with an unfamiliar woman. Also, if the other encountered danger, it meant that he would also encounter danger. In an instant, his risk of danger had doubled. The damned paired cultivation. Zhuo Mo felt especially aggrieved when he saw the other's calm state. Zhuo Mo shook his head and decided to not waste any more time on this topic. He started his cultivation again, but out of consideration for safety, he shielded a Gui behind him. Even he didn't notice that he had done this unconsciously. A faint gold light came out of Zhuo Mo's body and was eye-catching in the darkness. Almost the moment Zhuo Mo started channeling Shen power, Xing Lianer's body shook and faint moon essence shrouded her body. Zhuo Mo instantly detected the change in Xing Lianer. The Shen power inside his body was unusually active. The Shen power that usually delved into his blood and fixed to his flesh seemed to be drawn out instead. The rate that the power whirlpool in Zhuo Mo's right hand was spinning it slowed, and the Shen power from the whirlpool flowed out of his right hand, and merged with the Shen power that floated out of his blood and flesh to circulate around Zhuo Mo's body. Observing the path that the Shen power took in circulation, Zhuo Mo unconsciously recalled the contents of the gold leaf and a kind of epiphany occurred. The golden leaf recorded the cultivation method for the Sun Shen power, but due to the gap in eras, it was hard to understand the contents. Zhuo Mo was confused by many parts. Now that Shen power was circulating through his body in this novel manner, he seemed to understand many of the cryptic phrases on the golden leaf. Immersed in the joy of understanding, Zhuo Mo completely forgot the flow of time. The golden light that Zhuo Mo released was restrained, but Xing Lianer's moon essence nearby was so thick it was almost tangible. The moon moved, the night gradually faded. Dawn silently arrived and the sky started to turn white. The moment the sun came up out of the horizon, Zhuo Mo's body suddenly shook. It gave off blinding golden light as though it was a sun, responding to the sun in the horizon. Boom! The sun crystal seed inside Zhuo Mo's body suddenly gave off a great amount of flames. The golden flames crisscrossed and wrapped around the sun crystal seed. Following that, a dash of golden liquid charged forward on the path that Zhuo Mo's Shen power took. The golden liquid did not move quickly, but was extremely hot and felt as though it was burning. What shocked Zhuo Mo the most was its domineering nature. It was the utmost domineering. As though nothing could stop it. As though it was howling, full of dissatisfaction. Like it had a dream that one day, it could be like the sun that was rising on the horizon, to hang in the sky. In this moment, strange scene played out in front of him. Inside an empty and black void, a thread of celestial fire formed, and it grew with time, forming a ball of fire. After millions of years, it grew even bigger, so big until it was almost the size of a true sun. Suddenly, a hand reached into the void, a hand that looked very normal. This hand only grasped lightly, it a terrifying power that never had been experienced before. The hand squeezed from all directions. The sun's enormous body was forcibly compressed to become the sun crystal seed. For some unknown reason Zhuo Mo suddenly understood. He understood its dissatisfaction, the dissatisfaction of not being able to be in the sky. The burning golden liquid suddenly passed into Zhuo Mo's heart. Zhuo Mo's body suddenly shuddered and his chest felt as though it was burning. The complex Sun Mo matrix at his chest slowly lit up. Boom! Blinding golden light sprouted from Zhuo Mo's chest. A domineering and vast power filled Zhuo Mo's body. In this moment, Suemo had a feeling he looking down on the world. Even those massive mountains and endless deserts were specks under his feet. This feeling came quickly and passed quickly. The Sun Mo matrix at Suemo's chest seemed to come alive and slowly spun. Suemo could clearly feel that the golden liquid turned into a ball of fire when it reached his heart and was spinning endlessly. A feeling of unprecedented fullness spread through his entire body. The first sun of 10 Crow celestial apparatus had formed. The moon essence dissipated with the sun. Tsing Lianer glanced at Suemo. Her face was filled with shock and held none of the ease she had previously. It was as though she was looking at a strange monster. He had actually had a breakthrough. Even though she was unable to detect the exact changes inside Suemo's body, she could clearly feel that Suemo's power had reached a whole new level. The Moonshan power inside her body also had grown considerably with the paired cultivation, but compared to the other, it was an insignificant increase. Her face surprised, her black onyx eyes were filled with disbelief. What she cultivated was Moonshan power. Unlike Suemo, she had inherited a complete inheritance. In reality, she had guessed long ago that Suemo's Shan power came from a fortuitous encounter. Suemo's Shan power cultivation methods had many areas that were irrational, and he didn't even know about how they had entered paired cultivation. But a person like this had had another breakthrough in the span of one night. In reality, when she had come to Suemo, she had been shocked when she first saw him again. It had just been a few days since she had first seen him, but Suemo's power had clearly increased. Breaking through the boundary between brigadier and general, her power was also in a period of accelerated growth. She had worked hard on her cultivation in these few days, and her power had leapt ahead. Even when Master had been alive, Master had always praised her outstanding talent and for being the most talented and accomplished disciple of the lineage for more than 1,000 years. She had believed in that. But, looking at this freakish person, her confidence started to waver. She looked at Suemo as though she was admiring a great masterpiece. How many more days? Xu Long asked. Behind him, the hardship guards still moved uncompromisingly in their military formation. If it all goes smoothly, then 10 days. Yi Ling tried to stay alert, but his voice was filled with tiredness. In these days, they hadn't rested at all. They had moved at the fastest speed that was safe. What was most irritating were the occasional battles along the way. Since the war between Xiuzha and Yaomua had begun, security in these areas had declined and bandits could be found everywhere. When they encountered bandits, Xu Long wasn't soft-hearted. If they encountered any bandits, they would kill all of them. Later on, Yi Ling thought of an idea. He put up a flag on the caravan with the character, Guard, written on it. After winning the next few battles, the name of Butcher Guard Camp spread, especially when someone discovered that Xu Long's group was the battalion that had killed 3,000 bandits in Eminent Mountain Jia with only 100 people. This bit of information instantly caused waves. This also caused bandits to disappear from where Guard Camp was passing by. Even the local factions ignored this terrifying 100-person strong battalion. They definitely did not dare to provoke the caravan. Luckily, Xu Long and the others moved quickly and did not linger. People paid attention to this and secretly speculated that Guard Camp was probably on a special mission. Consequently, Guard Camp's traveling speed suddenly increased. Xu Long was full of praise for Yi Ling's idea. He didn't care at all about getting famous. His mind was completely filled with getting to meet Darren as soon as possible. 10 days. Everyone's morale rose. This was the longest journey that Guard Camp had ever taken since it was established. They didn't even know how many Jia they had crossed. Fortunately, Yi Ling had brought along enough Mo Bei. This meant they could use the blood pools. The blood pools of the Mo and the Yao doors of the Yao were like the transportation formations of Xiuzha, and similarly there were tolls to be paid. Otherwise, it would take years to fly to their destination. Nan Yu, Tsang Zhe and the others were also exhausted. However, their wills and hearts were more steeled compared to the past. All of them cultivated powerful Yao arts to start with, and the fighting had been of great aid to their training. They were completely different people now. In 10 more days, they would be able to see Darren. Everyone found themselves filled with energy. Golden Crow Camp was filled with light but unusually silent. Xiuzhe were lying askew in the enormous room. The snores were like the beats of a drum. Master Sun Bao was also in a corner and drooling as he slept. Master Ji Wei also was robbed of all dignity, his legs spread on the stairs as he laid with his limbs spread out, his mouth wide as his snores roared. Each of them were sleeping sweetly. Many people had lingering excitement on their faces. Not one of them was awake. They were extremely tired. They hadn't rested for one moment in so many days. When they were tired, they would throw back a Ling Dan for energy and continue to work. Just by relying on a pile of Ling Dan, they did not sleep nor rest as they studied the MO matrices and what Darren had sent back, about engraving and activating MO matrices. Everyone worked as hard as they could. No one complained. Everyone furiously worked as though they were possessed without any regard. Everyone understood that this was a war. But today, they finally saw the light. Zhongru entering seclusion did not attract too much attention. Right now, Turtle Island was unified, everyone was focused on getting stronger. Many people were using seclusion as a method. He lightly covered the stone slab entrance. The last thread of light that crept through the cracks from the outside disappeared as the cloth settled in front of him. It was completely dark inside the mountain cave, but Zhongru's mind was unusually calm. He had told no one else that his seclusion this time was intended as a death seclusion. Death seclusion was an extremely dangerous type of seclusion, death or advancement. In this seclusion, the number of mental demons would be 10 times what it usually was. If one was the least bit careless, they would go mad, their minds would collapse. But Zhongru didn't feel any terror. As if it was just like usual, he crossed his legs and sat down, chanting sutras like usual. In the past, he had sworn the Buddha abandonment death wish that he was to use his Vajra body to protect Darren. Right now, Darren had encountered trouble and his strength was such that he could not help Darren. In the darkness, Zhongru's expression was calm. There was no hesitation, no fear, only calm, because this was the path he chose, oath he gave. Chapter 559, Meeting Up. Shueyu, how have you been these days? A friend called out loudly. Ha! How has he been? Which one of you have ever seen him go out play? Another friend rolled his eyes and said exasperatedly. Shueyu smiled slightly and did not respond. Ah, I feel that my question is pretty stupid too. The friend shrugged. Alright, we're going, we just got something on our hands, and it really would be a waste not to go out and have some fun. This guy really wastes his good skill. The other friend's words were filled with envy and jealousy. Shueyu smiled and waved at his friends as they left. He was not tall and his figure was slim. His short hair was messy and soft, and his complexion was slightly pale and caused him to look prim and delicate. The smile on his face was especially endearing. Along the way, many females glanced at him, and some more daring Mo females threw seductive looks in his direction. Suddenly, Shueyu's expression changed slightly and his steps stilled. His expression quickly recovered and he looked just like usual except that he walked at a slightly faster pace. When he returned to his home, Shueyu quickly locked his doors. At this time, a thread of excitement flashed through his eyes. He spread open his palm. A bright blood-colored dragon had clearly appeared on his skin. The blood dragon's head was raised proudly, that pair of eyes giving off a vicious air as though it could fly out of his hand at any moment. It is true. It is actually true, he said to himself. He was out of his mind in excitement, laughing and crying at the same time. He recalled both his father and grandfather who had passed away. Their last words had been so similar. Wait for the blood summons. He had doubted whether or not the blood summons existed numerous times. Grandfather had waited his entire life and never gotten it, father had never gotten it either. He did not truly know what the blood summons were. To him, the faint dragon script on his palm was just a memento to remember his father and grandfather by. The blood summons existed only in a tiny part of his mind, a corner that he had long forgotten. The Water Moon family, he smiled weakly. When grandfather had grown old, he would always tell stories about the past glory of the Water Moon family, but from youth, Shui Yu only listened to them as stories, because he had never feel the glory of the Water Moon family. None of his friends had ever heard of the Water Moon family. As for Water Moon MO skill, it was just slightly better than the average MO skills. Shui Yu, who had been very mature from a young age, was extremely hardworking, and his talent among those of the same age was among the top half. Grandfather had sighed countless times while saying that if Water Moon MO skill was complete, Shui Yu would far surpass his present skill. When Shui Yu heard this, he would hurriedly try to comfort his grandfather each time, saying that he could still become very strong with the present MO skill. He never believed that there was a complete Water Moon MO skill, but he understood father and grandfather. Old people would always live in their memories of their past glory. Not long after grandfather passed away, father also passed as well. Shui Yu had started to learn how to make a living for himself. Fortunately, he had worked hard from a young age, and was much stronger than those of his age cohort. As he was composed and willing to work hard, people gradually stopped underestimating him because of his age. He was young, but after hunting MO embryos, his battle experience was high. Starting from a long time ago, he assumed that he would live his life like this. Until today, when the blood summons appeared. Shui Yu recovered from his daze, his eyes becoming clear again. He stood up and started to pack. There was no mental struggle, no resistance. He didn't know why. Maybe it was that the stories and reminders from his father and grandfather had leached into his blood in his youth, even if he told himself countless times that the blood summons didn't exist. For the blood call, his forefathers had struggled and lived. This youth's pale face was now full of longing. Tseng Lianer found it strange. Today, Zuemo had not cultivated like he usually did. She smelt something was unusual. In the days since she had come, she had personally seen how crazy Zuemo was in his dedication to cultivating. He was crazy, squeezing out every second of time. She had been astounded inside. He repeated the dull and dry cultivation process over and over as though he did not know exhaustion. In her eyes, Zuomo's manipulation of Shen power was very crude and there were still many flaws. It was not as refined as hers, but if the two of them fought to the death, she felt that the one to survive would be Zuomo. He really was a crazy person. Every time she thought this, she would unconsciously look at Ague. Those shattered yet heart-shaking visions would silently creep into her mind and cause her heart to tremble. She casually pondered and observed as though everything had nothing to do with her. But today, Zuomo was acting out of the ordinary. He wasn't cultivating. This was the first time in the many days she had been here, that she saw him stop his cultivation. Even though Zuomo seemed very calm, Tseng Lianer perceptively noticed the thread of excitement in his eyes. Was something about to happen? At this time, Zuomo suddenly stood up. Almost at the same time, a bunch of little dots appeared in the distant horizon. Those were. Tseng Lianer's heart shook slightly as she stared at the little black dots. While her expression was calm, her surprise increased. And her maid, Yenner's expression showed terror. A battalion. Tseng Lianer's eyes were very sensitive. There was only 100 people, but she could judge, from the organized formation, that this was a battalion, and it was a battalion that was very strong in combat. A black flag was held at the front of the troop with a large word "Guard" written on it. This battalion did not move quickly, but the formation was strict and flawless. The shock it brought was enough for Tsing Lianer to be stunned, the daughter of a Jia master who had seen numerous battalions. The other also noticed the four of them, and the troops suddenly turned in their direction. Like a shark that smelt blood, the entire battalion accelerated without warning. A wild howl started like hundreds of beasts howling as they charged. Tsing Lian's fist unconsciously tightened within her sleeve. She felt as though an invisible rope was strangling her. "Miss!" Yenner's face was ashen, her scream filled with terror. She pulled hard at Tsing Lianer's sleeve, trying to pull her to escape. Even though her face was a pale white, Tsing Lianer did not move at all because she noticed that Suemo was motionless. Was it? An absurd idea rose in her mind. Boom! The battalion had arrived. The dust that rose up from their landing was like a wall of earth that had appeared out of nowhere. It rose up and shrouded everyone's view. 2 zhang away, Suemo fearlessly stood in front of the earth wall like a spear. The wall of dirt dissipated and the true appearance of this battalion was exposed to Tsing Lianer. The first phrase in Tsing Lianer's mind was, "Veterans." This was a troop of just 100 people, and each person's individual strength wasn't worth anything in her eyes. But when this dusty troop appeared in front of her, she was unable to dismiss their existence. They seemed to be part of one being. The combat formation was intimidating, as though it was a killing machine that was prepared to massacre the enemy at any moment. Darren. Many people's voices were hoarse, but everyone had excitement on their faces. Morale was high as they stared at Suemo, their eyes filled with undisguised admiration and respect. Looking at their dirt-covered uniforms and the exhaustion that could not be hidden, Suemo's nose felt sore. He suppressed it, and a smile bloomed on his face. "Everyone, you must have worked hard. Have everyone rest," Suemo said to Xu Long in a soft voice. Xu Long was hesitant. Suemo knew what he was worried about and said directly, "I have broken through to Yuanying." Ecstasy appeared on Xu Long's voice, and then he nodded, giving the order to rest. When the order was given, everyone immediately sat down where they were. Suemo walked over and inspected every person to see if there were any hidden wounds. They had completed such an astoundingly long journey with many fights big and small along the way by gritting their teeth and holding their breath. Now that they released it, the exhaustion and suppressed wounds would come up like the tide. Yenner's little mouth was wide. Everything that was happening in front of her surpassed her imagination. This battalion, was that guy's? She didn't understand why Miss had to follow this guy. Was it because he had healed and woken Miss up? It was the first time she had seen a man being carried in a princess carry by a woman. Such a weak man. But since Miss had decided to do this, she did not speak. In any case, her duty was only to follow Mississippi. This scene stunned her and her mind turned blank. Tsing Lianer's gaze was deep. From beginning to end, she did not speak a word and only looked deeply at Suemo. It was unknown what she was thinking. "Jia Master. We have identified them, this battalion is Butcher Guard Camp." Chao Yu reported in haste. N. Tseng Yi caught the thread of fear in Chao Ye's voice and couldn't help but feel slightly shocked. He knew his subordinate well, who was usually black-hearted and very daring. It couldn't be anything normal that had caused Chao Yu to lose his composure. "Butcher Guard Camp," Tseng Yi said amusedly, and then asked, "What is their background?" "Unknown, they are a battalion that suddenly appeared out of nowhere. They numbered just over 100 people, but some time ago, when they were passing through eminent mountain Jia, they were surrounded and attacked by bandits. They massacred 3,000 bandits and left unharmed." When he spoke to her, Chao Yu couldn't help but think of the blood seen in the mirage he had obtained, and his expression was slightly ugly. Eminent mountain Jia, the Jia of bandits. Tseng Yi's expression suddenly became grave. 100, 3,000, unharmed. He felt deep shock at this news. Eminent mountain Jia was not far from where they were, and the fame of the Jia of bandits was well known. Even though he did not pay any attention to bandits, but 3,000 bandits were not a small number. If the other side had just 100 people, then it was a very terrifying matter. If it was his battalion, he couldn't help but shake his head. Unless he personally lead the troop, and took along all of the brigadiers and colonels under his command, he wouldn't obtain such a result. That youth's face appeared in his mind. He was shocked. This person's background definitely was not simple. Thinking of his daughter, he grimaced. There was no use in thinking so much. Other than getting on to good terms with the boy, what else could he do? After a moment of silence, he suddenly said, "Order the Celestial Planet Guard to follow Mississippi. No matter where Miss goes, they have to follow. Even if Miss tries to get them to leave, they have to follow." Celestial Planet Guard. Chow Yu gaped and was stunned. Chapter 560, Departures. Mo glanced at the guards crowded around Tsing Lianer and was slightly surprised. There wasn't a large number of guards, but their average skill level was not low. There were 7 Brigadier Mo. The others were Colonel, but they were each very close to Brigadier level. It was clear that this was an elite force. Remembering that the other's father was a Jia master, Mo felt this was very normal. However, the other guarded Tsing Lianer constantly and didn't even move a step away. It looked as though they would not accept his orders. Mo did not care. He wanted Tsing Lianer as far away from him as possible. He was strangely wary of this beautiful woman whose personality he could not understand. Ague was much better. Mo thought this as his gaze landed on Ague, softening his expression. However, when he recalled how Ague had not shown any improvement even after consuming the water cloud embryos, Mo's mood sank again. The Mist People in Turtle Island had set up a transportation formation between Cloud Sea Jia and the Mo territory so it was easier to travel through. Xu Long had coincidentally come to reinforce Mo after the Mist People had delivered water cloud embryos to Turtle Island, so he had brought them along. The Mist People had special methods to preserve the harvested water cloud embryos and so they would not lose their effectiveness. But after Ague used them, there was nothing else except slightly more vitality in her eyes. The Shen power inside her body was strange and malicious, almost completely sealing off Agui's soul. It had consumed the water cloud embryo. Agui's Shen power actually grew a fraction. He could not keep dragging this on. "Have you all recovered?" Mo asked Xu Long. "All recovered." Xu Long's face held joy. 6 hardship guards leveled up and also a flower Yao. Additionally, Miss Nanyu has leveled up. These hardship guards had been the elite of the elite he had picked from guard camp. The journey this time had been dangerous but since they made it through, they benefited greatly from their gains. Mo had taught Nanyu the longest, and she was the strongest of the group. Adding on that she was stubborn and hard-working, she had only lacked real combat experience before. This long journey and the hundreds of small and large battles along the way had caused her to quickly break through and cultivate Tuyin spirit, stepping in the realm of Rahula Yao. Mo also had a happy expression. Every bit of strength meant they had a better chance. In guard camp, only Xu Long and Awen had been in brigadier level. Now there were 6 more. Yi Ling had originally been a brigadier, adding on the flower Yao and Nanyu that leveled up, there were 11 people of at least the brigadier level in Mo's troop. There were 11 brigadier, and 1 general level in a troop of 100 people. The rest were also experienced fighters. This troop could be called a powerful one. Shou Ping was observing this famed battalion, Butcher Guard Camp, maybe it was more accurate to call them infamous. As the commander of Celestial Planet Guard, Shou Ping was a silver battle general and Tsing Yi's left and right hand. However, every time, Shou Ping observed this battalion, he couldn't help but feel a part of his soul tremble. Before this, he had been very confident in the skill level of the troop he commanded. It had been through his hard effort and energy that they had created the present Celestial Planet Guard. Not just in shattered stone Jia, even in the nearby Jia, Celestial Planet Guard was considered the top battalion. But with something to compare to, the top battalion in his eyes were like a group of idiots wearing glittering clothing in front of other people. Previously, he had suspected the truthfulness of the rumors that 100 had killed 3,000, but after he met this battalion, he didn't doubt the rumors anymore. With a battalion like this, not just 3,000, even 5,000 might be possible. The others' regulations were so strict and they were shockingly well trained. He had never heard of a battalion maintaining their formation even while at rest. They would each cultivate of their own accord when they had any spare time. It was the complete opposite of himself who had to stand guard every day and supervise Celestial Plant Guard's training. They were like a pack of insatiable beasts that never knew rest nor exhaustion. Shou Ping was frightened. He wasn't the only one. The members of Celestial Plant Guard who were usually very proud were frightened. In the beginning, they had been rebellious when Shou Ping told them to not make any trouble. But after 2 days they had seen guard camp's group of crazy people that didn't seem like Mo, they didn't have a temper. They had a kind of killing energy where even a glance caused fear. But Tsing Lianer was extremely calm as she cultivated on a regular schedule. She would idly drink tea, and eat pastries as though she was on a sightseeing tour. Shou Ping felt admiration for Mississippi. As expected as the daughter of Darren. In the future, Darren's role might have to be passed on to Miss Hands. Mo didn't pay too much attention to the Celestial Planet Guards. His standards had been raised up high by Lil Miss and the others. He really did not think too highly of Celestial Planet Guard's skill level. He turned and looked into the distance. That direction was the direction of Shattered Stone Town. He had considered taking along Kajua and Dongzi, but after thinking about it, he ended this notion. One was a simple youth, the other was a Matrix Awakening master without any skill to protect himself. Depart, Mo said indifferently. Fei Lei, are you really going to leave? The youths looked yearningly at the other. Fei Lei reached out his hand covered in scars and rubbed the head of one of the youths. He said with a smile, I have my fate. Fate? The youth's tender faces were puzzled. Something that I have to do, that is fate. Fei Lei explained with a smile. His body was extremely broad and well-built, his features sharp and weathered. His short dense beard was peppered and his eyes were a faint gray that was unusually deep. Will you come back and teach me? The youth spoke in a stuffed voice. No. Fei Lei still smiled as he narrowed his eyes. He showed some hints of age. You need to work hard on your cultivation, do not slack off. This way, you can enter the battalions early. Everyone, I am leaving. Finishing, Fei Lei turned and charged forward taking 2 steps and shot up into the air. His long windbreaker was like the wings of a bat as he flew into the sky. He did not turn his head. His deep light gray eyes looked towards the distance, filled the weariness of having seen the world. A burning flame shot out and silently pulsed. There was a vicious-looking blood dragon script on his tightly clasped palm. The battle horn that had been sealed for thousands of years seemed to have been blown in his ear. Mo's Jia map had been obtained from Tseng Yi. The collections of the master of a Jia was pretty good. Through this Jia map, Mo was able to easily locate Nether Spring Jia. This was a journey that was even longer than Shu Long's journey from Little Savage Jia. Little Savage Jia and Shattered Stone Jia both belonged to 100 Savage Realm, but Nether Spring Jia belonged to the deepest part of Dark Realm. The distance between them almost crossed the entire Mo territories. The factions along the way were many and their territories crisscrossed. Though the majority of faction territories on their journey were not labeled, barely a tenth were. Mo understood upon further thought. Tseng Yi was pretty powerful but he clearly had no ambitions to expand. The Jia map only labeled the areas near Shattered Stone Jia. Mo knew that this was not going to be an easy matter but he had no thoughts of retreat. He also planned on trying to buy reverse shadow spirit silkgrass along the way. Fortunately, the MO had the blood pools. It was the first time Mo saw a blood pool. The blood pool was like an enormous pond that was filled with a bubbling liquid that appeared similar to fresh blood. However, Mo knew that the blood was not actual blood, but a solution called crimson blood solution. Its composition was extremely complex. Just like the Xioja that were able to set up transportation formations in the Xioja territories, the MO that were capable of making crimson blood solutions had high status. Xu Long and the others were experienced and jumped into the blood pool in an organized manner. Mo picked up a Gui and jumped unhesitatingly into the blood pool. A Gui would only remain unaffected towards one person's actions, Mo. When Shou Ping saw this, he stole a look at Mississippi Miss appeared unaffected. He couldn't help but release a breath. It seemed that Miss was not attracted to this boy. Then he felt a slight regret. This boy wasn't tall, handsome, or rich, but he was fierce, influential, and strong. Our MO traditions value fierce men, Miss. It is the first time old Shou has seen such a fierce man. Such a pity, such a pity. Shou Ping muttered inside as he daydreamed. How powerful would it be if the two married? However, none of this could be seen from his face. He calmly followed behind Miss into the blood pool. When he jumped into the blood pool, Mo felt his vision turn blood red. A strange sweet scent came into his nose. Strangely, the crimson blood solution would not enter his nose like water, but glued onto his skin like a cool membrane. Suddenly, an enormous suction force came from underneath them. Before they could struggle, they were pulled down by this force and disappeared. When the force disappeared, Mo opened his eyes. He saw Xu Long and the others floating in the crimson blood solution nearby. The blood-red crimson blood solution was clear like a red crystal. Mo could clearly see everyone's figures. Without any orders or being directed, several of the hardship guards floated up. Moments later, they signaled that it was safe, so everyone floated up. The blood pool was not always a safe place. It had been alright before the war started. None of the large powers would allow any safety issues to arise at their blood pools. This was related to the stability and infrastructure of their territories. They had maintained their trade routes. However, the war was increasing in intensity, and many places were restricted. Some blood pools, because they were in areas that lacked a ruler, became places that bandits liked to lie in ambush. Xu Long had encountered this kind of situation along the road, so they were very familiar with the safety measures. Walking out of the blood pool, what entered their eyes was a desolate scene that caused Mo to show wariness. Shou Ping became nervous and signaled the celestial planet guard to instantly encircle Tsing Lianer. Shou Ping said in a low voice, "Miss, the situation is not right." Tsing Lianer glanced at Mo and asked, "Not right?" This subordinate came here a few months ago. Previously, there had been a market here, Shou Ping said in a low voice as he looked around warily. Shou Ping did not deliberately keep his voice down. Everyone had good hearing and naturally could hear him clearly. The mood suddenly became tense. Chapter 561, The Beginning of War. This is the intelligence we have gathered. We have identified Jies with chaos rifts. Xia Shan's face was tired, but his eyes were unusually bright. There are 3 Jia in total. East Flow Jia, Middle Granary Jia and Cloud Gate Jia. The enormous mirage showed a gigantic Jia map. Gongsun Cha listened closely, fearful he would miss a detail. Ma Fan, Wei Ran, and the others stood in ordered ranks. There hasn't been any action at East Flow Jia's Chaos Rift. Cloud Gate Jia's Chaos Rift leads to the Yao territories, and Earth Universe sect in Cloud Gate Jia is very powerful and possess 6 battalions. They control almost half of Cloud Gate Jia. Xia Shan's intelligence was very detailed as he steamed on. Our best target is Middle Granary Jia. It isn't just the closest to us, its largest local sect was defeated. They are in chaos. It has been confirmed that the attacks are a MO battalion. It is definitely the MO territories behind the Chaos Rift. Because there have not been any MO hostages, we are unsure at the moment which Jia it is. As long as it leads to the MO territories, it is valuable to us. Gong Sun Cha caused everyone to sit up in alertness. He stood up and slowly scanned the crowd. Everyone sat up straight. Everyone should know what is going on with Shixiang. Gong Sun Cha's tone was very calm, but his ruffled bangs could not stop the light of his eyes. Our goal is very simple, reinforce Shixiang. But if we enter any MO Jia, we will create an endless struggle with the surrounding MO territories. But we must reach into the MO territories so we can reinforce Shixiang. Gong Sun Cha had clearly thought this through. His rationale was clear. We can create our own MO battalion using Guard Camp and Sherdong. These MO battalions can enter the MO territories and then reinforce Shixiang. We can even turn Cloud Sea Jia into a place where Yao, Mo and Xiuzhe can coexist. This is hard, but not impossible. Everyone showed thoughtful expressions. After a few moments of thought, they nodded slightly and fighting spirit started to burn in their eyes. Lil Miss smiled slightly. The bashful smile of the neighbor's boy appeared. The eyes behind the bangs grew even brighter. His calm tone was filled with an indescribable insanity. But before this, we need to take over the Chaos Rift and the territory that can lead into the MO territories. We need more battalions. We need more resources. We need to become stronger. Everyone's eyes flashed crazily. They felt as though their blood was burning. Are you ready? The demonic slight smile and the furious fighting spirit crossed like light and dark on Gong Sun Cha's raised face. Yes. Everyone stood up and shouted together. Gong Sun Cha walked next to Middle Granary Jia on the Mirage. He turned around, his bashful smile filled with cold fighting spirit. The war has begun. Sherdong's progress in Little Savage Jia was extremely quick. Right now, he had taken over all of Little Savage Jia. In the past, he had not been trusted, but he had fame in Little Savage Jia. Everyone knew that Sherdong was a very strong battle general. So when Sherdong suddenly returned to fight, other than his former leader that called for his head, no other power said anything. In the MO territories, events like this happened every day. For those noble families, there were things like glory and honor, but for these little factions, the strongest was king. Whomever had the biggest fist was the leader. Sherdong faced off against his former boss. Before he could attack, the boss subordinates mutinied. Everyone knew that Sherdong had not to been fully trusted but the boss, but everyone also knew how strong Sherdong was. Being former allies, they also knew better than other people. To stay alive, they directly surrendered. After the great victory, Sherdong dissolved the local battalions according to Lil Miss orders and selected the elite ones to replenish Grey Camp. In a short period of time, Grey Camp had expanded to 3 times its former size, yet he had only picked the top quality MO troops. However, he also knew that it would take a certain amount of time for this reformed Grey Camp to be battle-ready. But with Great Day Hardship Guard, he had enough confidence he could make Grey Camp into a top-ranked battalion. However, he clearly underestimated Turtle Island's strength. He received Lil Miss orders for Grey Camp to send members in a rotation to go to Turtle Island and undergo special training. Special training? He was slightly puzzled. What kind of training was special training? However, these were orders and he knew what his duties were, instantly arranging it. Zhuemo did not know that there were countless eyes watching their journey. The name of Butcher Guard Camp intimidated small forces and attracted the attention of larger forces. Though they were not willing to provoke Guard Camp, it did not stop them from secretly investigating them. There had clearly been a fierce battle here. The market's ruins and the burnt black soil all pointed to this. Everyone's nerves were tight. They were not worried about encountering bandits, but were very worried about encountering large battalions, especially Xiuzha battalions. It was a dangerous matter for Shou Ping's group to fight against Xiuzha, enemies they were unfamiliar with. Zuo didn't want to encounter them either because his identity might be exposed. Even though guard camp didn't appear any different than Mo after Weiss teachings, but those large sects were immeasurable in skill. If he was exposed, it definitely would not be fun. Those people that exterminated Mo would exterminate them as well. Celestial Planet Guard and Guard Camp carefully kept their guard up. From the way they did this, it was possible to see the difference between the two groups. Every person in Celestial Planet Guard seemed to be anxious, fearing they would face great enemies as they moved carefully. Everyone in Guard Camp had calm expressions. Only the light that occasionally flashed through their eyes exposed their wariness. The skill could be instantly judged. Shou Ping shook his head inside, and was deeply impacted. He quickly threw all stray throughout to the back of his mind. Everything in front of him was unusual. A black shadow suddenly flashed by and entered the ranks of guard camp. So fast. Shou Ping was shocked. The speed of this scout surpassed all people in Celestial Planet Guard. There are two groups fighting up ahead, both Mo, the fighting is fierce. Owen reported the situation that was occurring up ahead. Zuo Mo's brow creased. This path was one they had to travel, they could not go around it. Let's go see. The troop moved silently and the intense battlefield quickly appeared in front of them. The sky was chaotic. A small group of Mo were surrounded by numerous Mo that had dark green wings on their backs. These dark green Mo were grouped together like packs of wolves that scattered and gathered, covering the sky, and howling. They are green Yiksha. Wei reminded Zuo, they are extremely fast and not weak offensively, innately cold-blooded and desirous of slaughter. They are most skilled in attrition battles, you have to be careful. What weaknesses do they have? Zuo asked. If Lil Miss was here, he definitely would not ask this question. Lil Miss seemed to know all the Yamo. They like to fight, are easily angered, and their tempers are not well regulated. Wei said rapidly, however, you need to be careful, while normal combat Mo are not disciplined, it is easy for battle generals to come out of green Yiksha. Those above silver are pretty good, and actually, Snake Mo also easily produces battle generals. Zuo Mo's gaze quickly landed on a Mo wearing a bright red cape on the battlefield. This person was well built and extremely brave. He stood with empty hands at the front of the formation. Every time he attacked, it was a ball of fire. If the green Yiksha that charged were not careful, they would be burnt into ash at a visible rate. The fatalities of the defending battalion was high. The reason they had not been defeated yet was mostly due to this large Mo, Darren, they seem to be protecting someone, Yi Ling said in a low voice. He was experienced and instantly detected it. Zuo made a sound. He had also noticed this. There were only 300 people left in this battalion but they were still resisting and protecting an old person. The fatality rate of the green Yiksha was also high but they were in a frenzy, wave after wave battering against the other's battle formation. With every wave numerous corpses would drop from the sky, but fatalities would also occur in the other's battle formation. Zuo Mo's expression changed. One side did not care about fatalities, the other side did not retreat a step. The battle was intense and fierce. He had heard Wei and Pu Yao say before that the Mo were skilled in battle and that their battles were unusually cruel. Having seen it with his own eyes, it really was so. In comparison, the battles between Xiuzha troops were lacking. When Shou Ping saw the green Yiksha, his expression changed. Especially when he counted that there were 700 to 800 green Yiksha flying in the air. The green Yiksha were not rabble-like bandits. 700 to 800 Yiksha were enough to take down a city. Thinking about the ruins of the market they had walked past, Shou Ping's heart sank. Had it been these green Yiksha that were responsible? He couldn't help but turn to look at Suemo. He saw the other had an expression of ease without any visible panic. He felt embarrassed inside. He was a battle general, but he hadn't seen battle yet. He wasn't comparable to this youth. Suemo's expression was calm, but he was slightly panicked inside. He was not as freakish as Lil Miss, but his judgment had been honed with practical experience, and he was much stronger than average silver battle generals. The fighting most likely would not finish up in a short period of time. The large man's side had fewer people, but they were resolved, and there seemed to be someone directing them. Their defense was very strict. Other than charging at them, the green Yiksha didn't seem to have a good solution. The battle probably would continue through to tomorrow night, Suemo guessed inside. But what he did not want to encounter such a delay. The two sides fighting quickly noticed Suemo's group. An old voice suddenly came from the formation behind the large man. "Which friend is this?" "This one is Tao Xing from Endless City. Please, friend, give this one a hand in aid. After this battle, this one will give heavy thanks." The other was asking for help, but he still maintained his mannerism and there was no panic in his tone. "Tao Xing." Shou Ping's pupils suddenly expanded as he exclaimed. Chapter 562, Business Tao Xing. Suemo beckoned at Shou Ping authoritatively, indicating for him to come over. In his eyes, Tseng Lianer had come to him, so Shou Ping and the Celestial Planet Guard were like the bonus that one got after buying the main product. He felt nothing at ordering the other about. Shou Ping's tendon pulsed. A youth that wasn't even 20 was ordering him about. If this was any other person, he would have smashed them into pieces. Even if you were a fierce man, even if your subordinates were powerful, even if you had a powerful background, you are not the Jia master. But he saw Miss out of the corner of his eyes, and Miss was looking directly at him. His heart jumped. "I'll endure it." Shou Ping obediently walked in front of Suemo. "Sir, is there something you need?" "Who is Tao Xing?" Suemo did not waste words and directly asked. "The city master of Endless City." Shou Ping thought and felt that if they encountered any danger, they would not be able to escape, so it was best to actually speak seriously of this matter. Endless City is a very famous and large city in Dark Abyss Jia, which is far from here. Tao Xing is most famous for raising Mo embryos. Supposedly, because he had raised Dark Mo embryo, he was given Endless City by the Jia Baster of Dark Abyss Jia. Mo embryos? Suemo noticed the flicker of yearning in Yiling's eyes. He suddenly recalled that Yiling cultivated the mist hand seat and needed Mo embryos. Being unable to cultivate Mo physique was one of his regrets. Yes. Tao Xing is a true Mo embryo grandmaster and very famous. A thread of desire flashed through Shou Ping's eyes, but he knew this was just a futile hope, so his gaze quickly regained clarity. Suemo suddenly turned and shouted towards the battlefield, "Tao Xing, do you have missed Mo embryo?" Shou Ping was stunned. All of Celestial Planet Guard was speechless. A small indiscernible smile appeared on Tseng Lianer's lips. "Grandmaster, will they help?" Tang Fei asked worriedly. Even though Tao Xing was the master of Endless City, but he was familiar with his people and liked being called Grandmaster. Tao Xing was dressed in loose black robes. His face was wizened, but his eyes were alert and gave people the feeling he was a scholar. The situation was urgent, but his face was calm and indicated no panic. He smiled slightly, his tone filled with nonchalance. "This is up to the heavens." Tang Fei bit down on her lips. She was filled with regret and hate. If she had stopped Grandmaster when they departed, Grandmaster would not be in such danger. Tao Xing knew what Tang Fei was thinking. He said with a smile, "Do not blame yourself. This matter is not your fault, you have done very well. With just 500 people you were able to stop 1,500 green Yiksha. When word of this gets out, you will be famous." Tang Fei was tall and the form-fitting armor emphasized her body. The light green hair was up in a simple ponytail. Her right hand was on the mo weapon at her waist as she stood handsomely. There was no pride on Tang Fei's face. Her fingers were white as she gripped her mo weapon. Even though she was speaking to City Master, the majority of her attention was on the battlefield. She noticed that Cha Xiong's movement had slowed and instantly felt panic. Tang Fei knew very well that she was able to stop this 1,500 green yiksha with 500 people because Cha Xiong was a skilled fighter. Otherwise, they would have been defeated long ago. If Cha Xiong ran out of energy, the balance would quickly tilt. Suddenly, a voice rang out over the entire battlefield. Tao Xing, do you have missed Mo embryo? Tang Fei's eyes widened and her expression froze. She felt unspeakably uncomfortable. She had followed Tao Xing for many years, and seen many times that Grandmaster had asked other people for help. But she had never encountered a situation like this. Each of the personages that Grandmaster asked would usually complete the request without a second word. After the matter was dealt with, the Grandmaster would naturally give his thanks, mostly with Mo embryos, and the two would establish good relations. She had never met someone who started out by stating conditions. Comparing this, she couldn't help but have a low opinion. As expected, those personages were great and prestigious, their mannerisms were not anything that greenhorns could have. If they saved Grandmaster, would they fear not having Mo embryos? And stating a price at such a crucial time, wasn't this just blackmail? Tang Fei was unhappy and her expression turned dark. Tao Xing stilled. It was the first time he met such a direct person. However, he was usually open-minded and did not care too much. He said loudly, "Sir, what kind of missed Mo embryo do you want?" This time, it was Zhuo Mo's turn to pause. "What kind of missed Mo embryo?" He turned around and asked Yi Ling, "What kind of missed Mo embryo do you need?" The rims of Yi Ling's eyes turned red. When Zhuo Mo asked about the missed Mo embryos, his heart started beating wildly. When Zhuo Mo asked him the direct question, a feeling he had never had before filled him. If Darren asked him to die right now, he would charge unhesitatingly. "My king." His lips trembled as he stammered out, "Ash Fei's missed Mo embryo." "Oh, it is Ash Fei's missed Mo embryo." Zhuo Mo nodded. He turned and shouted, "Old man, Ash Fei's missed Mo embryo." "Old man." Tang Fei almost drew the Mo weapon at her waist. Her face was full of fury. This was the first time she had encountered someone so disrespectful towards the city master. She was not the only one. The Mo guards around her were also angry. The Celestial Planet Guard, with Shou Ping as the leader, all looked reverently at Zhuo Mo heavens. This person was probably the first one that dared to call Tao Xing old man. Tao Xing chuckled. He felt this person was very interesting. He shouted, "Boy, how many do you want?" He had originally thought the other would ask a great price. He had not imagined that the other just wanted a gray phase missed Mo embryo. This wasn't anything to him. It seemed the other was truly a greenhorn. He had made a mistake. Zhuo Mo instantly realized that his opening price was too low. He only knew a bit about Mo embryos, so it was hard to avoid making mistakes. For Zhuo Mo, who had greediness engraved into his bones, it was harder for him to accept making a mistaken quote than for him to cut off his own flesh. He wanted to ask Yi Ling, but when he saw the other's teary state, Zhuo Mo felt it would be a waste of time to ask. He decided to just go in. 100. Shou Ping almost fell to the ground. Yi Ling's tears froze in his eyes. He opened his mouth and did not know what to say. Even the green yiksha stilled. 100. Mo embryos. When were Mo embryos counted in units of 100? Whoosh, Tang Fei unsheathed the Mo weapon at her waist and prepared to fight to the death. Truthfully, she was more willing to go up and chop up that greenhorn. In her eyes, this person was even more horrid than the ugly green yiksha. 100. It was Tao Xing's turn to be stunned. He didn't know what to say. Heavens, 100 mo embryos. Even if it was the gray phase mist mo embryos that were not high level, this number was outrageous. Mo embryos, these were mo embryos. Was that person really a mo? This absurd thought rose in Tao Xin's mind. What he did not know was that his thought was so close to the truth. Sorry, I only have 3 gray phase mist mo embryos with me. For some reason, when Tao Xing said this, even he felt slightly embarrassed. Sire, can you consider changing the request to 2 other mo embryos? Just 3. Zhuo rubbed his chin and pretended to be deep in thought. He hurriedly asked Pu Yao and Wei. Quick, what mo embryos should we get? Pu Yao's thin lips were like blades that drew blood with each swipe: gold phase mo embryo, day mo embryo, nether shadow mo embryo, cold blade mantis mo embryo, 100 night mo embryo. Wei had a warm and harmonious smile as he added, and nether water clear moon mo embryo, magnetism mo embryo, falling star mo embryo, flashing spirit mo embryo. Zhuo repeated without missing a word. His voice spread through the entire battlefield. The entire battlefield was completely silent. Everyone was shocked by this mo embryo list. The eyes of all the mo gathered on Zhuo. In this moment, Zhuo was the center of attention of thousands. Even the green Yiksha were gaping as they looked at Zhuo like they were seeing a ghost. The eyes of the green Yiksha leader turned red. If it wasn't an absolute order this time, he wanted to shout, give them to me, and I will immediately turn around and leave. No, just half, we only want half and we will leave immediately. He suspected when he returned and reported to his superiors, those Darren would also regret not giving him the power to make such a transaction. Tao Xing was like a statue. He was completely stunned. Oh, heavens, how could I have had such a stupid thought just now? How could this person not be a mo? A mo that could list so many mo physique names, he had never encountered one like this. The pitiful Tao Xing was still immersed in the other's familiarity of mo embryos. He had not comprehended the mabe that was represented by this string of mo embryos. This is extortion. Tang Fei shouted, unable to bear it any longer. Zhuo stilled and then said unconcernedly, this is a transaction done willingly on both sides. It's fine if you are not willing. I do not feel that there is anything more valuable than life. You will not make a loss on this transaction. All the mo admired Zhuo's shamelessness. Tang Fei was unable to respond. Fire burned in her eyes as she wanted to burn Zhuo into dust. Tao Xing stopped Tang Fei. Even though there was pain on his face, he shouted, this little brother is right, there is nothing more important than life. Alright, I agree. However, the mo embryos are at Endless City. Sir, you will have to send someone to pick them up. Are we going to pass through Dark Abyss Jie? Zhuo asked Xu Long in a low voice. Xu Long had been very calm all this time. In reality, other than Yi Ling, Nan Yu, and a few others, all of the other people in the troop didn't feel anything. They actually felt that Darren was correct. What was more valuable than life? Xu Long nodded. Darren, we will pass through it. Zhuo had a happy expression as he shouted, alright, agreed. The leader of the Green Yiksha instantly felt his heart was empty. Endless disappointment filled his body. This almost drove him insane. So many mo embryos. He suddenly raised his head, his eyes bloody red as he shrieked, kill them. Kill them. All the Green Yiksha had red eyes and vicious expressions. A troop of just 100 dared to dismiss them. Kill them. Chapter 563, Fight. The majority of the Green Yiksha dove down at them. A layer of green light appeared on their spread wings. Their wings tore apart the air like knives, and the howling was like a rising tide. Their eyes were bloody red, their expressions twisted. The black Missouri matrices glowed on their exposed dark green skin. The green energy gathered at the tips of their wings. When each yiksha flew, it created two blinding streaks of light. The lights of the swarm were like a chaotic storm, bright and intimidating. Suddenly, they quickly organized into formation with astounding speed. The lights that covered the sky seemed to be compressed together by an invisible hand. They became closely packed together. The green streaks all rose and intercrossed. They spun around each other and attracted each other, pressing towards the center. The light grew in intensity. Looking from afar, they looked like one being, like an enormous green yiksha that was dozens of zhang long. It was like a falling star that crashed down with great force. King Yiksha! Tang Fei shouted, the blood in her face draining out. As a silver battle general, she was familiar with the ultimate killing move of the Green Yiksha battalions. No. This group of Green Yiksha definitely was not a normal group of bandits. This was a Green Yiksha battalion. Untrained Green Yiksha would not be able to perform King Yiksha. King Yiksha was called the ultimate killing move of a Green Yiksha battalion. It was an extremely difficult maneuver and demanded high coordination from every Green Yiksha involved. Tang Fei tightly gripped her MO weapon. Her blood-colored lips had drained to a pale white. If the other had used King Yiksha during their battle, they would not have managed to survive until now. Tang Fei had a high opinion of herself, but she never would think that she would be able to stop King Yiksha with just 500 soldiers. This made her realize that others' goal was to capture Grandmaster alive. In a blink, Tang Fei understood what the Green Yiksha were planning. But what was the use in knowing? She had never felt so helpless, never. King Yiksha. She wouldn't die a worthless death if it was in the hands of such a battalion, one that could perform King Yiksha. Tang Fei felt hopeless. The crossing lights from the Green Yiksha dazzled the eyes. The green rays of light that were dozens of zhang long almost stole the color from the sun. Shou Ping's expression changed. He almost shouted at the top of his lungs, "Snake coil." The celestial planet guard's formation suddenly changed. Like a snake, the guard curled up its body. This was the defense formation that the Celestial Planet Guard was most skilled in. But Shou Ping didn't feel any confidence. That was King Yiksha. It was one of the most famed ultimate techniques of a Green Yiksha battalion. It was used as one of the standards to measure the strength of a Green Yiksha battalion. A battalion that could perform King Yiksha was not an average Green Yiksha battalion. Shou Ping's eyes were filled with blood as he bit down hard on his teeth. Celestial Planet Guard was strong offensively and weak defensively. If this was any other time, he would just charge and fight it out. The Green Yiksha had their King Yiksha, but Celestial Planet Guard had their own ultimate techniques. However, Miss was here. No matter the time and setting, protecting Miss was the most important mission. Damn it! He looked urgently towards Mississippi. However, he found that Miss was looking serenely at Mo as though she did not see the King Yiksha forming in the air. Was she? His mind shifted and he abruptly turned his head. And he saw Mo raise his left hand. Mo's left hand was in a fist, his arm drawn back above his waist, his weight on his back foot, his figure slightly twisted to one side. The howling in the air seemed to suddenly disappear. A strange feeling rose. This was. Shou Ping's eyes suddenly widened. Dong! An invisible ripple reverberated like that of a drum and transferred to every person behind him with Mo as the center. Boom boom. Dong dong. Every beat was strong and firm, penetrating to the mind. Everyone's blood and muscles seemed to feel a fatal attraction and pulsed out of their control. The beats were stirring. With every beat, everyone unconsciously adjusted their power to the rhythm. Countless ruler-straight dots of light flew from Shu Long and the other guard camp members. Like metal attracted to a magnet, they entered Mo's raised left fist. In a blink, Zhuo Mo's left fist was covered in an almost tangible black light. The sun script at the center of Zhuo Mo's chest lit up. Threads of golden light extended out of Zhuo Mo's left hand and mixed beautifully within the black energy. Boom boom boom. The rhythmic beating speed up like the hurried gallop of a horse. The black energy on Zhuo Mo's hand increased. All the hardship guards behind Zhuo Mo that were covered in heavy armor vibrated uncontrollably. Every beat caused them to feel excitement. Their fighting spirit rose like flames in the wind, and burned the blood in their bodies. The power in their bodies uncontrollably pulsed with Darren's pace as though they were communicating to Darren. When their fighting spirit reached a peak and their blood boiled, a low voice could be heard from the front of the troop. Kill! Almost unconsciously, all the fighting spirit, all the trembling, all of it found an opening to vent from and burst out. Everyone roared with all of their strength. Kill! Every hardship guard punched out hard. 100 thick, almost tangible black energies left their hands. Once these black energies left the fists of the hardship guards, they seemed to be attracted and flew towards Zhuo Mo's fist. The black energy on Zhuo Mo's fist increased over 10 times its size. The black energy wrapped around his wrist, wrapped around his arm, and flowed down following the angle of his arm. With a spark of inspiration, Zhuo Mo did not punch D with that shout of kill and forced himself to patiently wait. Until now. Like it was restrained with heavy chains, Zhuo Mo's left hand seemed to take great effort to move as he punched towards the sky. Time seemed to suddenly slow down. Zhuo Mo's actions seemed to be in slow motion. The ground underneath him started to tremble. A pebble trembled and was drawn by an attracting force and breaking free of the ground. It slowly rose, and then crumbled under the pressure, turning into dust. A handful of dust floated upwards. The scene was eerie to see. Woof! A deep humming came out of nowhere and slowly grew in intensity. When the soil crumbed, the sound was a roar. Boom! Everyone's ears were flooded by this sound. Time seemed to instantly resume its flow and Zhuo Mo's left fist punched out forcefully. The black energy was like a black dragon darting out of a deep abyss. Carrying a deep and domineering killing essence, it crashed into the King Yiksha rushing downwards. This scene was so domineering almost everyone stopped breathing. The black and green forces crashed together without any finesse. Boom! The opening clash caused an enormous explosion as though it was the climax of the entire battle. Everyone's body was numb. Shocked, they were unable to respond and the terrifying explosion's shock wave reached them like a tsunami. Those that were slow in reacting were blown away. Their faces were draped in terror. Moments later, they struggled to stand up. But when they raised their heads, their terror froze on their faces as they stood petrified. A black energy rained down over the battlefield. There were golden threads that glittered among the black energy like the sunlight during the darkest storm, bright and unparalleled. And that intimidatingly loud group of green Yiksha had been erased from the air and didn't leave a trace behind. The rain of energy that carried dots of golden light added an aura of mystery to the sky. Even though it was daytime, Tang Fei didn't feel any warmth. Her limbs were cold as though it was the dark of midnight during the coldest day. Her face was as white as paper, even the last bit of blood had drained away. That scene, just that short instant, spread inside her like a powerful poison. 400 green Yiksha. She had great visual acuity and her eyes were almost never wrong. She could see how many green Yiksha had rushed at this group of despicable people that appeared. The 400 Yiksha that were performing the King Yiksha were completely destroyed by a troop of 100. Not one was left. The entire battle amounted to just one exchange. If other people told her about this, Tang Fei would definitely feel it was a joke, but right now, she couldn't laugh. No one was able to laugh. Shou Ping's limbs also felt cold. His face was raised as he looked dazedly at the sky. His expression was frozen and the other celestial planet guards were even worse. They seemed to be soulless. Even an amateur could see the deep terror in their eyes. Tsing Lianer had a look in her eyes. She was also very shocked. However, while the other people were shocked by the 100-man troop, she was shocked by something else. The remaining 300 green Yiksha's morale completely crumbled. They scattered as though they were crazy. They were completely robbed of courage, their battalion routed. Many Yiksha were flying in unstable patterns and faltered as they fled, as though they would fall over at any moment. There was only terror on their faces. They would probably never forget this battle. No one laughed at the green Yiksha. They believed that no battalion could not crumble under a situation like this. Even those who were just watching this brief fight had also lost their courage to face this troop. They looked at Suomo's group as though they were looking at demons that had crawled out of the 9 hells of the underworld. Respect and fear. This battle imprinted respect and fear into the bones of these people so deep that they would not forget it in this lifetime. This youth that didn't even look 20 years old was a true demon. Only those noble and evil Mo would have such terrifying power. The yells of the terrified green Yiksha faded into the distance. The enormous battlefield became silent. The other people were still struggling in their terror while Xu Long and the others were savoring the attack. Xu Long was full of admiration towards Darren. That move had just been the little Mo kill of the Crow Fiend Mo killing formation. Darren had just made a small transformation to the attack and the power had increased by more than 10 times. Darren was born to be a battle general. Zhua Mo did not know what Xu Long was thinking, but he was also savoring the move just now. That pause and spark of inspiration. He felt as though he had touched upon something. Chapter 564, New Discovery General Level. Was this the power of the general level? Zhua Mo thought back to the feeling he just had, that spontaneous pause. The change was not a major one, yet the power had drastically changed. Guiding the influx of power but not immediately attacking with it required a higher level of control. If he had tried this in the past, after the guard camp members shouted, "Kill," he would not have been able to. If the roaring killing essence was not used immediately in an attack, it would have backlashed against him. Control, this was the power of control, the control made possible at the general level. He finally understood somewhat why all the Mo battle generals were strong people. Gathering the power of tens of thousands into one point, other than astounding coordination, it also required an astounding ability to control oneself. The influx of power would cause those with weak bodies would have exploded long ago. Just now, he suddenly found a wondrous use of Shen power. Shen power could greatly increase the stress tolerance of his body. For normal Mo, this might not be important, but for Mo battle general, this was crucial. The manipulation of Shen power was Zhua Mo's weakness all this time. Both Tsing Lianer's and Agui's Shen power manipulation was exquisite. It was invisible and impossible to defend against, as well as being amazingly strong. But Zhua Mo could not reach their level. His manipulation of Shen power was extremely crude. The gold leaf he obtained was like a book of the heavens, hard to read and harder to understand. He only used Shen power to cultivate his 3 powers. It was faster to cultivate Shen power than the 3 powers individually. Agui could not speak, and Zhua Mo didn't even consider asking Tsing Lianer for advice. He had decided to explore himself. Until today. That pause allowed him to find a completely new channeling method of Shen power. Zhua Mo did not have eldest Shixiang's persistence and resolve. His periods of hard work were usually done to allow him to slack off in the future, but he was undoubtedly a smart person. When he found that Shen power would be channeled along with his Mo physique, he instantly asked himself, could Shen power be added into Ling power? Could it merge with his spiritual consciousness? When these thoughts popped up, he became excited. Having had a good taste, Zhua Mo wanted to start experimenting immediately. However, he could only think about it at the moment. There were affairs to take care of right now. Right, there was profitable business. Everyone gradually recovered from the deathly silence and the terror-stricken expressions faded. But when their eyes swept across Sui-mo and the others, they couldn't help but shudder. Celestial Planet Guard silently distanced themselves from Sui-mo's group. If it wasn't that Miss was here, they would have most likely turned and ran back to Shattered Stone Jia by now. Even Shou Ping started to miss the peaceful environment of Shattered Stone Jia. However, he noticed that Miss was not shocked by the success of guard camp. "Make some tea," Tsing Lianer serenely spoke. Xiener seemed to wake up from a dream and started to boil water. However, there was still terror on her face and her hands were trembling. Tsing Lianer glanced at her. She faintly said, "Let me do it." Purple charcoal stove, black mud pot, a little tea table, a bamboo tea place, a sky blue little pot, white cups, and Tsing Lianer sitting there with her layered dress was like the flower blooming in the night. Her movements were elegant, her expression serene. Her seductive face was peerless. She seemed to be at ease as though she was in her own home. Sitting amongst the disordered battlefield, she was unusually eye-catching. The members of Celestial Plant Guard stared at each other and then they felt slight embarrassment. Miss was so composed and calm, but they had felt the urge to flee. This was an embarrassment. The restless Celestial Plant Guard quickly calmed down. This subordinate is useless. Shou Ping admitted his crime with an ashamed expression. Tsing Lianer took a light sip, her long eyelashes blurry among the steam. The beautiful face became more ethereal as she said serenely, "It is good for you to see the power of the general level." General level. Shou Ping's eyes widened, his expression disbelieving. Heavens, he's so young. Starting from today, you will all obey his orders. Tsing Lianer's voice passed into Shou Ping's ears through the rising steam of the tea. This. Shou Ping hesitated. They were Tsing Yi's personal guard yet Miss was telling them to listen to the orders of another person. Shou Ping naturally could not help but feel resistant. Tsing Lianer continued to drink tea and her eyes didn't even look up as though the person who spoke wasn't her. Shou Ping gathered his courage and voiced the puzzlement he felt. "Miss, this subordinate does not understand what Miss wants. This person is of unknown origins and his future vicious and hard to predict. You are disobeying." Tsing Lianer put down her teacup, her serene voice carrying an ice-cold tone. "This subordinate does not dare." Shou Ping's broke out in a cold sweat. He knew Miss' temper very well. If he hesitated at all, Miss would execute him without a second word. "Go," Tsing Lianer said lightly as though nothing had happened. In the span of time that this word was said, Shou Ping's back had been soaked. He couldn't help but sigh inside, Miss had more presence than the Jia master did at this age. He didn't dare to inquire further and retreated. But when he almost reached guard camp, he suddenly recalled. What did Miss mean by go? Shou Ping grimaced. "This one is Tao Xing, many thanks, little brother, for your aid," Tao Xing said politely to Sui-mo. Just now, the power that Sui-mo had shown shocked him. He was curious who Sui-mo was. Such a strong youth could not be unknown. "No need for thanks, this is just business." Sui-mo waved his hand with an unconcerned expression. Tang Fei's face turned black. It would have been fine if Sui-mo didn't mention it. Now that he did, she recalled this person's past actions. It made her furious, the other had blackmailed them. Robbed them using threats. In her eyes, a person who acted so at such a crucial time had terrible conduct. While she was angry, she suppressed it. Even now, that astounding attack was still lingering in her mind. "What should I call little brother? Where are you from?" Tao Xing smiled and asked. He was able to accept this. Even though the price caused him some pain, but it was worth it to save his life. Also, now the other would go to Endless City with them, so their safety during this journey now had a very good guarantee. "Just call me as well." Zuo was an old-timer and understood what the other was probing for. He acted as though he did not hear Tao Xing's second question. Tao Xing did not care and said with a smile, Zuo is so young and has reached general level, your future is limitless. On the side, Tang Fei's expression changed. General level. This person with terrible virtues was actually general level. She then had an expression of realization. No wonder this person was so powerful. Tang Fei's strength was pretty good, but she was still brigadier level. Among the MO, brigadier MO were usually silver battle generals, and gold battle generals had to be general level and above. Was this person a gold battle general? Tang Fei shook her head inside. She felt her thought was too absurd. Such a young gold battle general. That would only appear in the most prestigious of MO noble families. This person in front of her was unrivaled in greed. What mannerisms of a prestigious upbringing did he have? How long until we reach Dark Abyss Jie? Zuo asked Tao Xing. Tao Xing thought and said, about a month or so. Let's keep hurrying along. Zuo clearly did not have any interest in talking and ended the conversation. Tao Xing was slightly shocked. No matter where he went, he was respected and taken care of. It was the first time that he had encountered someone like Zuo that didn't even have an interest in talking. A person without manners. Tang Fei added another criticism of Zuo to her list. Zuo did notice that there were many eyes observing the battle from the shadows. However, due to the intimidation of Zuo's terrifying attack, those hidden scouts felt fear, so they only followed from a distance. They feared that if they approached, the other would crush them to bits. Immersed in his investigations, Zuo did not detect that the name of guard camp had gained infamy. This battle had caused some ruckus when news that they had killed 400 green Yiksha with one blow. Facing the King Yiksha and still being able to destroy the enemy with one blow, the strength of the battalion was evident. Intelligence on the leader of guard camp was quickly gathered by this group. All kinds of mirages appeared. Guard camp's history was very mysterious. No one knew their origins, nor did they know what faction they belonged to. But what attracted the attention of most people was Zuo. So young, and in general level, this attracted everyone's attention. Many people speculated on Zuo's background, but there were no results. But Zuo did not know that his business deal had also tempted many of the powers hiding in the shadows. This really was a great big piece of business. Zuo did not pay attention to Tao Xing's group. He urgently wanted to test out the ideas in his head. He wanted to go into seclusion. However, that clearly was not realistic. He could only think as he traveled. He quickly managed to come up with some techniques. He is a good MO battle general. Wei had been paying attention to Zuo's experiments. In this period of time, Zuo had asked him numerous times for advice, especially in the area of battle generals. Zuo was not skilled in Yao fighting methods, but he would rapidly understand the MO battle methods and come up with new ideas that caused Wei to frequently sigh in amazement. Humph. Pu Yao's expression was displeased. Every day, he was in the 10-finger prison, and tormented the Yao battalions. The pitiful Nan Yu, Cang Zhe, and others, traveled during the day, and spent all of their remaining time in the 10-finger prison. It was extremely hard for them. However, Nan Yu and the others gritted their teeth and managed to endure. This journey had caused them to understand that there was nothing more important than strength in troubled times. What depressed Pu Yao was that there was nothing happening in his search of Yao while Weiss blood summons had gotten responses. Damn it! At this time, Pu Yao abruptly stopped. He suddenly stood up, a light flashing through his bloody pupil as he disappeared. A Yao had responded to the summons. Chapter 565, Yao summons response. Pu Yao was in a complex mood. He walked very slowly. Even though he entered the 10-finger prison like usual, there seemed to a different power that caused him to feel a rare nervousness. The past few thousands of years were like a vast river that divided the past and present. Some things had blurred in his memory, but some things were as clear as though he had saw them yesterday. When a rebellious figure entered his vision, his nervous emotions suddenly calmed down. Thousands of years, the glory had long dissipated and only left behind a sigh. Already mentally prepared, Pu Yao did not feel demotivated. The light blue crystal that he seemed to recognize caused his thoughts to blur and felt slightly moved. You are a child of a Yuqin family. Pu Yao's tone was indifferent. The other examined Pu Yao from top to bottom, his voice filled with suspicion. You left behind the news. He was not tall, and there was an irregular blue crystal on his forehead. His eyes were long and narrow, a rebellious smile at the corner of his mouth. The fiery red hair was like a burning ball of flame and gave people the feeling of disobedience. Yes, it was me, Pu Yao said indifferently. So pretentious. The youth snorted. Hey, old person, who are you really? Old person? Pu Yao's eyes narrowed slightly. There had never been a person that dared to call him this. He snorted and without visibly moving, countless chains of light erupted from under the youth and tied him up. The youth's expression changed slightly but he did not surrender. Old guy, there's no accomplishment in bullying little children. Are you the only one left in the Yuqin family? Pu Yao asked coldly. Just Yi is left. The youth widened his eyes and raised his head. How about it? Don't think that you can pretend in front of Yi with some conning Yao arts. Then he seemed to say to himself, if I knew this long ago, I wouldn't have listened to the old man. What stupid thing, what daring, is this an evil cult? Pu Yao did not seem to hear him. What is your name? Yuqin Lai. The youth rolled his eyes. The other person's power was beyond his predictions. A good name, Pu Yao said expressionlessly. He then asked, where are you living now? Jail. The youth snickered. A Beigu jail, maximum security, how about it? Very strong. Why are you in jail? Pu Yao asked. Ha, I killed a bastard from a prestigious family, motherfucker, I'll kill his entire family if I see them again. Yuqin Lai said hatefully. You have a grudge against him? No. Yuqin Lai's head moved up, his eyes bloodshot and his hair seemed to burn. Ha, that bastard raped my friend's younger sister. Yi spent 3 months before finding a chance to kill him. 3 months. You are really weak. Pu Yao smirked coldly. You can try. Yuqin Lai looked disdainfully at Pu Yao. He had at least 20 guards, and has 2 people guarding the door even when he is doing that thing. Please, it is a prestigious family, the Yao arts they cultivate is much stronger than yes. However, he got tricked by Yi, I almost killed all of them. Prestigious family. Pu Yao smirked inside and then asked, you can come into the 10-finger prison from jail. Ha, those idiots, they think putting Jinji on you will work, how can they know yes skills? Getting into 10-finger prison is child's play. Yuqin Lai said smugly. A thread of light flashed through Pu Yao's bloody pupil. He continued, your father has spoken to you of your mission. That old man. Yuqin Lai's tone was unconcerned but his rebellious gaze suddenly became warmer. He shook his head. Hey, it's not that Yi wants to miss this, but Yi is in jail and cannot help. Just escape the prison. Pu Yao said coldly. Escape the prison? Yuqin Lai seemed to hear the greatest joke and roared with laughter. This is a Beigu jail, maximum security prison. Huh, I've never heard of anyone escaping this prison. A ball of light suddenly appeared in Pu Yao's hand. He pressed his hand against Yuqin Lai's forehead. The ball of light seemed to be soaked up by a sponge and entered Yuqin Lai's head. Hey, what are you doing? Yuqin Lai's voice held a thread of panic. But his eyes suddenly widened as he said disbelievingly, this is. You have 10 days to escape the prison, Pu Yao said coldly. If you cannot escape, then die inside it. Finishing, Pu Yao disappeared. Yu Qinlai didn't seem to hear him. His mouth was wide, his face shocked and his eyes unfocused as though he was possessed. Ida felt his heart was drumming. He had always lived in Little Savage Jie. After Little Savage Jie changed hands, he entered Sherdong Daren's battalion due to Sherdong Daren's reputation. At the start, the days had been pretty good. Even though the cultivation was high intensity, no one complained. The more hardship they experienced when training, the easier it would be to survive when they fought on the battlefield. There was nothing to say about Sherdong Daren's skill. Great Day Hardship Guard was a MO skill on a level that they used to dream about, and it stirred up everyone's desire to cultivate. There was no need for supervision. Everyone furiously cultivated. On the battlefield, Sherdong Daren had been undefeated and taken down all of Little Savage Jie. Everyone was filled with hope about the future. Yet at this time, they had suddenly received Sherdong Daren's order. They needed to go to a place called Turtle Island and receive special training. Special training? No one had heard this before. He had asked everyone, including the people that had followed Daren for a long time. Special training? They all shook their heads and spoke of their ignorance on the matter. Everyone desired to go to Turtle Island because the old-timers of the battalion would tell them how great that place was. Most importantly, the king was there. Yes, right now, everyone knew that Sherdong Daren and Yiling Daren had sworn allegiance to a Daren. This Daren was called the one that was most likely to become king. King, for the MO of Little Mountain Jie, was a faraway term. But no one doubted Sherdong Daren and Yiling Daren's judgment. Almost everyone believed that they were following a powerful person that could possibly become king. Turtle Island was completely different than what Ida had imagined. This place was filled with Shouja. This MO army that entered Turtle Island for the first time almost turned and ran. Fortunately, everyone later found that Turtle Island didn't just have Shouja. There were MO and also Yao. Thinking back to everyone's expressions at that time, Ida found it was humorous. Actually, he hadn't been much better. He quickly found that no matter if it was Yaoma or Shouja, they could all coexist peacefully here. Even though there would be unfriendly gazes, but no one would fight you just because you were MO. Only now did Ida completely believe in the power of the king. Before this, no one was able to do this. As expected of the man that was most likely to become king. Ida quickly started to like this place, and liked the atmosphere. However, as they became familiar with Turtle Island, the special training that had been spoken of for so long finally arrived. Ida carefully entered the room as instructed, and 7 to 8 pairs of eyes instantly stared at him. Ida instantly became nervous. What made him even more nervous was that these people were all Shouja. Even though there was no fighting between Yaoma and Shouja on Turtle Island, he couldn't help but feel unsafe being stared at by a group of Shouja. Don't be nervous, a question first, your bloodline. Some of Shell Crocodile MO, but just a little bit, Ida hurriedly said. Shell Crocodile, not a bad bloodline, Colonel level. We can engrave the Shell Crocodile MO matrix for you and awaken the Shell Crocodile blood inside of you to increase your combat strength about 2 times. Of course, the specific effects will only be seen afterwards. Also, the choice is in your hands. The one who was speaking was Master Sun Bao. Engrave a MO matrix. Ida's face was puzzled. Do you know Matrix Awakening Masters? Yes. A bit more high level than that. Ida finally understood some of this. His heart couldn't help but move. He asked, I have awakened my MO matrix already. Can I still get a MO matrix engraved? Yes. I'm willing. Ida was afraid the other would withdraw the offer knowing he had already been awakened. He finally understood what special training was. Ida's quick and decisive responsive surprised Sun Bao and the others. They had originally thought that the other would hesitate. They had even prepared a great deal of methods of persuasion, but the other didn't even think before agreeing. Xiuzhe could not understand the desire Mo had toward strength. But since Ida agreed, then engraving the Mo matrix naturally started. When they learned that Zui Mo had encountered danger and needed help, Sun Bao and Ji Wei had started to discuss how they could help Darren. Coincidentally, Zui Mo had sent back some information on the matrix awakening methods he had learned. The duo's eyes lit up and then found that the Mo matrix could help Darren. Mo were most suited to move in the Mo realms. Therefore, they organized all the power of Golden Crow Camp and started to study the content that Zui Mo had sent back about Mo matrices. The present Golden Crow Camp were not the greenhorns of the past. No matter if it was individual strength or collective strength, they had multiplied many times. Adding on that everyone was unprecedentedly united, the entire plan progressed rapidly. Pu Yao and Wei also helped out in this process. Zui Mo had pioneered the process of engraving Mo matrices on Dongzi. Golden Crow Camp quickly familiarized themselves, and compared to the Mo matrix Zui Mo carved on Dongzi, Golden Crow Camp had more skill. Their methods were more developed and effective. But because engraving could not escape the basic requirement of bloodlines, Guard Camp was temporarily unable to undergo the process. The two masters put their focus on the other Mo battalion, Grey Camp. Lil Miss approved their Mo engraving plan on the spot. Therefore, there was the special training order. Ida did not hesitate. He never dreamt that something good like this would land on his head. He had once heard that Ho's matrix awakening masters could activate the blood in people's bodies to the greatest extent, but there were no outstanding matrix awakening masters in Little Savage Jia. The effects of Ida's matrix awakening had been very terrible. Otherwise, he believed that he would not just be the strength he had now. No one had expected that a completely new era had started like this. In the name of war. Chapter 566, Bu Heng, how was it? Wei asked Pu Yao. A boy from the Yuqing family, Pu Yao said indifferently. Yuqing family, Wei nodded with a reminiscing expression. A very powerful family, but I think that their tempers are not good. The boy is the same. Pu Yao's tone softened greatly. However, his talent is not bad. How do you plan on using him? Wei asked. Let's see if he can pass the test. Pu Yao snorted coldly and suddenly asked, how are your blood summons? There are two responses, Wei said with a sigh, it has been too long. The other families probably have died out. 2 is enough, Pu Yao said indifferently. Yes. Wei smiled slightly. Adding on the boy from the Yuqing family, 3 of them. It is time for the seed planted thousands of years ago to sprout. Trash is just trash. They cannot even accomplish such a small matter. In the hall, Bu Heng's cold voice echoed. He ignored the ugly expressions of the other people. He was not tall, but standing there, he was full of pride. That is Butcher Guard Camp. 100 slaughtering 3,000, who can guarantee victory? A green Yiksha stood up and tried to defend. Trash do not need reasons, Bu Heng said indifferently. He didn't even look at this green Yiksha as though the other was only air. What does a Heng think about this? The clan leader slowly said. His face was dark. Regardless of Tao Xing, we must win this fight, Bu Heng did not dodge the gaze of the clan leader and said coldly. The world is in chaos. Our Green Yiksha clan is not a strong one, and cannot afford to lose. Even this guard camp that popped out of nowhere was easily able to defeat us, sooner or later, we will become prey for other people. The expressions of the other Green Yiksha became uglier. They knew that Bu Heng was right. There were many branches of Yiksha, and the Green Yiksha were just one of those. The reason that people were wary of the Green Yiksha was not because their blood was noble, nor because they were strong, but because of their vicious conduct. People were afraid of being targeted. Yes, the clan leader slowly said, our Green Yiksha clan is able to grow and prosper due to the fame of our viciousness. No one dares to offend us. If we do not defend our reputation, we will become a weak target in the eyes of other people. Then it will not be far from the day of our destruction. Bu Heng, you are the strongest battle general in the clan. This time, you will go. I only have one demand, come back with their heads, except for Tao Xing. The clan leader's expression was filled with murderousness. Yes. Bu Heng did not waste words. After bowing, he retreated from the hall. Bu Heng. Now this is interesting. Shiman Ning played with the wine cup in his hand and said amusedly. His body was heavily built, he had large eyes and thick bows. There was a necklace of bones hanging from his neck. He was half naked and the curves of his muscles prominent, as if carved. People would not doubt that his body contained great power. Boss, what about us? Should we act first? Bu Heng has some skill, one subordinate said urgently. Some skill. Your tone is so great. Shiman Ning laughed. He's a gold battle general, the strongest battle general of the Green Yiksha clan. Even in all of 100 Savage Realm, he can rank in the charts. Boss, you are pushing others up and pushing yourself down. Bu Heng is a gold battle general but so are you. The Green Yiksha is scary to hear, but our Black Ghost Corps is not Weika. In terms of rank, our Black Ghost Corps is in front of Heng Battalion, another subordinate inserted. He was called a Qing, deeply trusted by Shiman Ning in his right and left hands. Shiman Ning smiled and said, you are interested? Boss, none of us have MO physiques, a Qing said. Shiman Ning sat up. He was clearly persuaded by a Qing's words. Because there were no MO embryos, his closest subordinates were unable to obtain MO physique. He said, then we have to plan well. Bu Heng is not easy to deal with. There probably are a lot of people targeting this fat piece of meat. The people below had joyous expressions. Tang Fei suppressed the displeasure she felt and walked in front of Zui Mo. She said coldly, Sir, there are people watching us from the shadows. Surprise flashed through Zui Mo's eyes. He nodded and said, I know. Looking at the other's unconcerned expression, for some reason, the fire burning inside Tang Fei erupted but she managed to suppress it. Sir, I suggest that it is best for us to increase our speed and pass through this area. It is very dangerous here. Speed up. Zui Mo shook his head. The speed right now is very good. It wasn't that Zui Mo did not want to speed up. For guard camp, speed was their weakness. If they sped up, it would drastically increase the energy expenditure of guard camp. If they encountered danger, they would be left in a reactive position. Zui Mo didn't dare to use anything like the nimbus clouds in a Mo Jia. Tang Fei finally could not suppress herself from mocking, I think that sir, you do not understand the habits of the Green Yiksha. They will send people to attack again and again, they will not rest. The Green Yasha will send their trump card, Bu Heng. Bu Heng. Who is that? Are they strong? Zui Mo asked interestedly. The people around him were unfamiliar with this area. Even Shou Ping was not familiar. Tang Fei's brow creased. Sir, do not joke. How can you not know the name of Bu Heng? I don't know. Zui Mo spread his hands with an innocent expression. You. Tang Fei's brows arched. At this time, a light cough came from behind her. It was Tao Xing. Lil Tang, let's talk. Mr. Zui does not understand the situation around here, so you should give an explanation. Tang Fei had opinions about Zui Mo but since Tao Xing spoke, she could not do a thing. She said irritably, Bu Heng, the most famous genius of the Green Yiksha clan. He didn't just enter general level when he was 20, he is also a gold battle general. General level, gold battle general. Zui Mo couldn't help but pay attention. These two phrases allowed him to understand how strong this Buheng was. Did he really not know? Tang Fei saw that Sui Mo did not seem to pretend and was puzzled. She continued, Buheng's battalion is called the Heng Battalion. It is ranked 93rd of all battalions in 100 Savage Realm and has never been defeated before. A battalion ranked 93rd in 100 Savage Realm. Sui Mo inhaled sharply and his expression grew grave. A battalion that ranked 93rd in 100 Savage Realm was a terrifying ranking. It intimidated Sui Mo more than the terms of general level and gold battle general. It had to be said that even Sui Mo's Vermilion Bird Camp could not rank in the top 100 of any realm in the 4 realms. Any battalion that could rank in the top 100 of any realm was an extremely powerful battalion. Were there only 100 Jia in one realm? The factions were numerous and the number of battalions were just as innumerable. A battalion that could reach the top 100 of thousands of battalions was definitely a powerful existence. Even though his own strength had grown recently, the power of a battalion was not something that could be defeated by his individual power. A strong feeling of danger surrounded Sui Mo. What solution do you have? Sui Mo asked directly. It will be best for us to hurry to Great Peace City. Tang Fei's tone was confident. No battalion dares to offend Great Peace City. Great Peace City. Sui Mo's expression was blank. Tang Fei was extremely depressed. Did this strong person in front of her not know anything? He didn't even know Great Peace City. It is a city near us. The biggest primary town in the surrounding 9 Jia. How do we get there? In the direction we are going, Tang Fei said. She reminded, but we need to speed up. When Sui Mo explained why they could not increase their speed, Tang Fei's expression instantly became strange. In Middle Granary Jia. Vermilion Bird Camp that had been unstoppable all this time finally met its match. This Mo battalion was exceptionally troublesome. After a few hundred rounds of contact, no one had gained the advantage. The two faced off in the air. Lil Miss examined the other battalion. After fighting for a few days, he had a direct understanding of this Mo battalion. The others' formation was not organized but their average strength was very strong. A battalion of not even 1,000 people had an average of 1 brigadier per 20 people. Just this number far surpassed Vermilion Bird Camp. The others' tactics were very nimble and rapid. This was the strongest battalion that Lil Miss had ever encountered. Just like Lil Miss, the battle general of this battalion was examining Vermilion Bird Camp. A Jia Gu closely examined this Xiuzha battalion. After he led the battalion across the Chaos Rift, he had been undefeated and had not expended any effort until he encountered this battalion in front of him. In the 3 days of fighting, he hadn't gained any advantage. This shocked him. The other battalion's average strength was a whole level lower but they were well matched in combat. A Jia Gu was clear that this meant he had actually lost. The other's tactical skill was higher than his. This was the only way they could make up for the lack of strength in the battalion. A Jia Gu couldn't help but feel respect. He suddenly flew in front of the formation and said loudly, "In these 3 days, we have had a good fight. Sir's tactics are high-leveled and a Jia Gu feels admiration. May you tell your name so a Jia Gu can remember it." A weak-looking youth walked to the front of the battalion. Turtle Island, Gongsun Cha. A Jia Gu's face was filled with shock. He hadn't expected the one that was a match for him was such a weak-looking youth. As expected, heroes come from those young. A Jia Gu admires you. A Jia Gu said sincerely. He suddenly said, a Jia Gu is willing to retreat from this Jia and hopes to become friends with little brother Gongsun. The other's words surprised Gongsun Cha. He did not immediately answer and asked, "How shall we be friends?" That you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.